LoveLore Library. Chapter 443. Every day when Xianyuan Mo came to the imperial consort's palace, he could see the glaring marks on her neck, wrists, and even her chin. However, the imperial consort still looked at him shyly, as if to say that it was all his fault. He felt very wronged. He did not do these things at all. He ate the food that was not to his liking in the past, but he could not ignore the marks on the beautiful woman's neck. He held his chopsticks tightly and fiercely picked up the food, chewing with all his might. "Ah, Mo, are you unhappy?" Hearing the concerned words, Xianyuan Mo's expression softened. When he looked at her, he could not ignore those glaring marks. He quickly shifted his gaze elsewhere. "No, there are some matters in court." Hearing this, Tangua did not ask any more. It was a taboo for a harem woman to interfere in politics. She buried her head and ate with relish. Every day when she saw the Green Hat King's sullen expression, she was in a good mood. When she was in a good mood, her appetite was also good. During the day, the Green Hat King entertained her and provided her with food and clothes. At night, she had an adulterer to serve her. There was no better time than this. When she was in a good mood, Tangua ate 2 bowls of rice. Xianyuan Mo, who had a bad appetite, looked at her with red eyes. The imperial consort's appetite has been good recently. Tangua wiped the corners of her mouth and smiled. "Yes, my appetite has been getting better and better recently. I unknowingly ate more." "Ah, Mo, you don't mind, right?" With such a pitiful appearance, who could bear to blame her for eating too much? However, Xianyuan Mo's heart tightened. Although he rarely paid attention to the harem, he understood that a woman's sudden appetite was very likely to be pregnant. Thinking of this, his expression changed. He allowed Xianyuan Mie to have this woman, but he did not want this woman to be pregnant with Xianyuan Mie's child. If she really was pregnant, it would be a shame that could not be washed away for the rest of his life. "Is the imperial consort's health better recently?" "Very well." Tangua's lips curled. What was the Green Hat King thinking of? Xianyuan Mo's face was full of concern and love. "But Zhen is worried. Let's call the imperial physician over." Without waiting for Tangua to speak, he asked eunuchly to call the imperial physician. After a while, the imperial physician came over to take Tangua's pulse. Xianyuan Mo's face darkened as he clenched his fists. Please don't let it be what he thought. When he thought of the possibility, his heart felt suffocated. Imperial concubine Nyang Nyang's health has been very good recently and the cold energy in her body has lessened greatly. The old imperial physician narrowed his eyes and stroked his beard as he nodded repeatedly. "It seems that imperial concubine Nyang Nyang has listened to my previous words. She must have been well recuperating recently." Tangua's lips curved. "That's right. Recently, this queen has been paying attention to these things. Every day, there are people who specially massage this queen's legs. Their skills aren't bad and this queen is very comfortable. Then he should be rewarded," Xianyuan Mo said from the side. "I've already rewarded him. Since he served me well, I naturally have to reward him well," Tangua said with a smile. At the side, Meilon, who had her head lowered, only wanted to press her head into her stomach. Her liver trembled. "Nyang Nyang, you're a little arrogant like this, ah." Xianyuan Mo casually asked the imperial physician, "Other than these, is there anything else?" "Imperial concubine Nyang Nyang is doing well. Your Majesty can rest assured." Xianyuan Mo let out a sigh of relief. That's good. However, he had taken this matter to heart. Imperial concubine definitely couldn't be pregnant with Xianyuan Mie's child. Imperial concubine was only a shield for him to use for the incense tree. Once the family Tang collapsed and the infamily was established, Ningxiang would become his empress. Imperial concubine Nyang would be useless. He definitely couldn't leave behind a child that didn't belong to him. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations Female Supporting Lead, calm down. Top point. Chapter 444. Not long after noon, Xianyuan Mo's reward came again. At that time, Tang Guo was playing mahjong with Meng Fei, Yin Fei, and the others. Seeing the palace maids coming over with the reward, Yin Fei said sourly, "Our emperor really dotes on Gue Fei Nyang. Is big sister Yin Fei envious?" He Ronghua smiled, "If big sister is in a bad mood, let little sister play for a while." Hearing this, Yin Fei looked vigilant and spat, "Little sister it's not that big sister doesn't want to let you play, but your mahjong skills are really terrible. Big sister is right not to let you play, so that you won't lose your belly band to Gue Fei Nyang later." He Ronghua was very disappointed. In the end, in big sister Yin Fei's heart, mahjong is more important. Yin Fei kept playing mahjong with her hands, the corners of her mouth twitching. In any case, this Fei can win at mahjong, so there's some hope. If I do other things, I might not have such gains, and I might even be angry. What other things were, the people in the room had a tacit understanding. After interacting with Gue Fei Nyang for a long time, they felt more and more that there was nothing attractive about the emperor. It was not as interesting as the things in Gue Fei Nyang's hands. Rather than trying to fight for favor, it was better to treat themselves better. Every day, they would play mahjong, eat some beauty porridge, and apply the beauty masks that Gue Fei Nyang taught them. They would return to the palace in a good mood, which was much more interesting than before. Of course, in addition to playing mahjong, they also liked Gue Fei Nyang's books, which were really interesting. The imperial concubines who couldn't sit at the table read in the side hall. After reading so many interesting books, they felt that fighting over a rotten cucumber was really meaningless. Forget it, I'll go to the side hall to read. I'm afraid it won't be my turn today. He Ronghua stood up regretfully and was helped to the side hall by a palace maid. I've only read half of that book about how palace fighting is not as good as beauty. The content is really interesting. Kong Chai, go look for it. I've finished reading that book long ago. Meng Fei smiled and said while playing mahjong, recently, I've been looking at the delicacies of Buddhist imperial concubines. There are many recipes, and I'm letting the chef try them one by one. The taste is really good. When the chef is skilled, I'll send some for big sister Gue Fei Nyang another day. Tang Guo smiled as she sipped her tea. Sure. At the same time, he communicated with the system, find more books of the same genre for them. Understood, Madam Host. The system clicked its tongue in its heart. Xianyuan Mo, that cuckold, probably didn't know that his concubines were gradually forgetting about him. Look at these first-class beauties. They only want to read books, play mahjong, eat delicious food, and do beauty treatments all day long. How could they have the time to fight for favor? However, Xianyuan Mo didn't know. He thought that these imperial concubines had been bullied in the Tanghua palace. In fact, he didn't know that these imperial concubines had left with red eyes not because Tanghua had made them angry, but because they had lost the game. Fortunately, the money that he had painstakingly won was lost in 2 rounds, and he even owed a huge debt. Not many people were not jealous. Otherwise, they would snatch the book to read. Those who didn't win would feel depressed and leave. That was normal. Tanguo glanced at the tray at the side. After a round, she said, Concubine Yun, come to Ben Gong's seat. Ben Gong wants to see what His Majesty has sent. Concubine Yun was delighted and quickly nodded. She wasn't curious about the reward. After waiting for so long, she just wanted to play a few rounds. After watching for a while, her hands were itching. Chapter 445. Woven Gold Beauty Ivory Palace Fan. Tang Guo played with it for a while. It looks pretty good, Ben Gong likes it. Put it away, I'll use it when the weather gets warmer. Blue Cloud Jade Hairpin, exquisite workmanship, it looks pretty. Wear it tomorrow. Tang Guo's gaze finally landed on a beautiful incense burner with several boxes of incense next to it. Gui Fei Nyang Nyang, His Majesty specially found this for you. It's said to promote sleep, calm the mind, and smell good. The palace maid hurriedly explained Li Gonggong's instructions. Does Nyang Nyang want to try it now? Tang Guo picked up the calming incense and took a light sniff, praising, as expected, it's very fragrant. I won't light it. Ben Gong likes to enjoy this kind of good stuff alone. Meng Fei and the others burst into laughter, not minding. They were just curious. What kind of incense was it that Gui Fei Nyang Nyang wanted to enjoy it alone? Gui Fei Nyang Nyang wasn't a stingy person. Recently, she had given them quite a few good things. What kind of incense would make Gui Fei Jijia so precious? Meng Fei asked with a smile, her eyes full of curiosity. Tang Guo's brows lifted slightly as she said meaningfully, this incense, other than Ben Gong, no one else can enjoy it. It's better for Ben Gong to enjoy it alone. Alright, Gui Fei Jijia can't bear to part with it. Younger sister doesn't like to take advantage of others. These days, I've gotten quite a few good things from Jijia. Yin Fei also giggled. She also wasn't interested in incense. Tang Guo didn't explain and pointed at the incense burner and calming incense, calling Mei Lan over, take it to the inner hall and light it for Ben Gong. Ben Gong just happens to be a bit tired, so Ben Gong will go in and rest for a while. Mei Lan didn't suspect anything and took the incense and incense burner inside. Tang Guo bid farewell to the others and let them play on their own before following them inside. Smelling the pleasant scent, she took off her outer clothes and laid down on the couch. She glanced at the smoke rising from the incense burner and smiled elegantly. This incense smells pretty good. Host, this incense doesn't have any problems with your body, right? This incense does promote sleep, calm the mind, and is good for the body. There's only one disadvantage. What was it? Sterilization. The system had learned something new. Was Xianyuan Mo doing this on purpose? Was this guy trying to kill himself? The host could hold a grudge, even though it was impossible for her to get pregnant. He didn't know why, but it was impossible for the host's body to become pregnant. But whether the host was pregnant or not was different from others wanting to make her infertile. Actually, this body doesn't need to be affected by me, and it's impossible for her to have a child unless she recuperates well. That time when she fell into the water, the cold air entered her body and damaged her body. Tang Guo smiled. Xianyuan Mo is afraid that I might have Xianyuan Mie's child, so he wants to strike first to gain the upper hand and prevent such a thing from happening. He's courting death and has successfully attracted my attention. The system gulped. This idea was different from Xianyuan Mie's. This consort will satisfy him. After that, Tang Guo closed her eyes. Tang Guo only used the calming incense during her afternoon nap. The next day, when Xianyuan Mo asked her about it, she said that she was used to taking an afternoon nap every day and that the timing of her nap was just right. Xianyuan Mo didn't tell Xianyuan Mia about this. He had ordered people to secretly search for that incense. It was a long-lost item, and people who didn't know about it all thought that it was something good. I like it a lot. Thank you, Mo. I will definitely use it during my afternoon nap every day. When I finish using it in the future, Mo, you must find more for me. Xianyuan Mo's arm trembled. Looking at the woman's sweet smile and blissful expression, he didn't know why, but his heart felt stifled. Chapter 446. Xianyuan Mia went to Tangua's palace every day and served her comfortably. Meilong had been scared witless at the beginning, but now she was calm and composed. Every time Xianyuan Mia came, she would consciously guard the door. In her heart, she thought that the imperial concubine had suffered enough. This man who looked like the emperor definitely had an extraordinary identity. Things had already come to this, and this man treated her ladyship so well. No matter what the final result was, it was fine as long as her ladyship was happy. Meilong, this girl, is a smart one. Xianyuan Mia hugged the person in his arms and kissed her neck. He said in a low voice, "That stupid brother of mine plans to make a move on father-in-law. What does Gua want me to do?" Tangua rubbed against the man's chest and snorted. "Tell father the truth. Tell him everything, whether it's Xianyuan Mo's thoughts, our matters, or my thoughts. Father-in-law is probably going to go crazy. He will find out sooner or later. We should let him be prepared. In the future, he will slowly get used to his daughter being the current imperial consort, and also the imperial consort who made the emperor a cuckold in public." Xianyuan Mia's heart burned when he heard this. He couldn't help but tighten his arms around her. "Gua is really a bad woman. Then you still like me?" I like you very much. I like people like you." He sighed. He liked her so much that he didn't even want a younger brother. They were clearly brothers, but he didn't know why his younger brother was so stupid. Tangua raised the corner of her mouth. Right now, Xianyuan Mo should be in a Ningxiang's palace. Only Gua knows. Xianyuan Mia chuckled. He looked into her eyes and said, "That's right. When I came here, he secretly went to a Ningxiang's palace. A Ningxiang's palace is remote, and there are all his people inside. No one can tell that there's a mistake. He's a really infatuated person." Tangua looked up and met Xianyuan Mia's deep eyes. She suddenly smiled. "Is it a grievance to be my adulterer?" "Not at all. You will be scolded by many people in the future. Won't it be a grievance?" "No, I'm willing." She wrapped her arms around his majestic waist and snorted. "I like Mia a little more." "That's great." Xianyuan Mia was overjoyed. He couldn't wait to die by her side. Even if he died, his soul would stay with her. At the same time, in a Ningxiang's palace, there were two people cuddling together. A Ningxiang's finger drew circles on Xianyuan Mo's chest, her heart filled with satisfaction. She finally knew the truth. The person who went to the imperial concubine's palace every night was not the emperor. The imperial concubine seemed to be favored, but in fact, she was arranged by the emperor to be a wild man. Her body had long been unclean, but on the surface, she was just beautiful. The unhappiness in his heart also subsided when he found out the truth. As long as Mo was with her and secretly loved her, it didn't matter if she was a concubine or not. However, Mo was very considerate of her. He even wanted to pave the way for her to become the empress. She naturally had to appreciate it. She had to keep a low profile so that she wouldn't let Mo down. When the family became strong, Mo would not be so difficult. Mo, you're so nice." And Ningxiang lay in Xianyuan Mo's arms and smiled sweetly. "I like you so much, Mo. You're so nice." It was different from the emperor in her imagination. It was said that the son of heaven was heartless, but her Mo had feelings. "Soon, the family tang will fall," Xianyuan Mo said lightly. "When the family grows, Ningxiang will be my empress." He pursed his lips. He didn't know why, but when he said this, his mind was actually thinking of another woman who smiled sweetly at him with a happy face. He shook his head and sneered. That woman was flirting with his imperial brother all day long. She was no longer a clean woman. Thinking of her, he was afraid that he would go crazy. Let your father prepare. The In family's road to growth will use the family tang as a stepping stone. Chapter 447. Did you bring the message to father? Yes. Did you give the letter to father? I did too. Xian Yuanmie replied and sighed. Actually, I have a way. There's no need for father-in-law to fake his death to escape. Why doesn't Guo believe me? Could it be that he couldn't protect his own woman's father? Mia, don't be too petty. She fed him a grape and said, aren't I ordering Mia around every day? Why are you still thinking about such a small matter? Xian Yuanmie swallowed the grape and secretly kissed her on the cheek. I just want to dote on Guo hold Guo and treat you well. That's a good idea. I like it. Tang Guo smiled in satisfaction and fed him another piece of apple. I had an idea when I asked father to fake his death. Mia, do you want to know? If Guo says it, I want to know. Tang Guo smiled. What a smart person. Of course. I'm not that idiot Xian Yuan Mo. His brain was crushed by a door. He hugged the person in his arms and felt strangely satisfied. This person was his, and this person's heart was also his. That idiot brother of his deserved to be abandoned. Tang Guo smiled. I want to be awe-inspiring in the palace for the rest of my life. Once our relationship is exposed, even if Xian Yuan Mo can't do anything to us, what about the courtiers? They will definitely pressure the royal family. How can I, a mere imperial concubine, stop them? If you want to usurp the throne, then there's no point. The capable can hold it, the capable can hold it. Once you become the emperor, no one can say anything about marrying me. It's not like there hasn't been such a thing since ancient times. Xian Yuanmie narrowed his eyes and stared at the person whose eyes were emitting evil thoughts. His heart was burning. He liked her too much. He liked the way she smiled, liked the way she schemed against others. He liked her so much that he liked her to the bottom of his heart. If my father is a tyrant, what can the courtiers of the Tianqin kingdom do to me? If my father gives the order, he can take down the entire Tianqin kingdom. Who would dare to question me? If I'm unhappy, I'll ask my father to come and occupy the Tianqin kingdom. They won't even dare to fart. Xian Yuanmie's eyes shone brightly. What an amazing Guo. This idea was really brilliant. I don't want your heavenly Qin empire. I want you. Tang Guo said with a smile. Xian Yuanmie's heart was pounding for her. The feeling of being forcefully owned by someone was simply too wonderful. I want it too. Xian Yuan Mo can't take it off even if he wants to. Even if he wants to take it off, the entire court has to stop him. Mia, what do you think? What else could Xian Yuanmie say? He only said, all right. Good, good, good. Everything she said was good. It was no wonder that when he told his father-in-law about what had happened, the other party had almost jumped up and fought him. His face was red with anger, and he had probably wanted to rebel at that time. However, after reading Guo's letter, his father-in-law calmed down. His eyes flickered as if he was calculating something. It turned out that it was Guo who had expressed her thoughts in the letter. Father-in-law spoiled his daughters so much. No matter how loyal a person was, after hearing Xian Yuanmo's actions, they wouldn't have any loyalty left. A general who held great power and was feared by the emperor definitely couldn't be a foolishly loyal person. Tang Guo pushed Xian Yuanmie away and took out a large box from the house. She placed it in front of Xian Yuanmie and said, Mia, give these to my father. He needs money to recruit troops and buy horses. Opening the box, there was a thick stack of banknotes inside. It was unknown how many there were, but they were all in large denominations. Other than the banknotes, there were also 2 cultivation techniques. She smiled and used Xianyuan Mo's reward to sell it to recruit troops for her father. She asked Xianyuan Mo, was it a surprise? Chapter 448. Xianyuan Mo had already discussed with his trusted aide how to bring down the family Tang. General Tang was a meritorious official of the heavenly Qin kingdom and had always made Xianyuan Mo fearful. If one wanted to destroy such a person, ordinary crimes were useless. The strategists below thought of a plan to frame General Tang for treason. With such a crime, no matter how great the merit was, it was useless. Although the heavenly Qin kingdom seemed to be peaceful, in fact, there were wars at the border every year. However, they were not fierce. Most of them were small tribes invading the border. Taking advantage of a slightly larger tribe invading the border of the heavenly Qin kingdom, Xianyuan Mo sent General Tang out. The clear meaning was to let the great general's reputation suppress the border. In reality, it was just a plan that he had been planning for a long time. He had a beautiful plan and had been thinking about it for a long time. He believed that there would be no mistakes. However, he never expected that a month later, he would receive a terrifying piece of news. The tribe at the border was actually a very large tribe. They had planted spies in the heavenly Qin kingdom and had found their way to General Tang's side. They had poisoned General Tang, causing him to be killed when he was fighting the enemy. After that, the spy was captured by General Tang's trusted aide and revealed his origins. He also explained that their tribe had many spies who had infiltrated the heavenly Qin kingdom. He did not know the details. Xianyuan Mo was truly dumbfounded. He had completely forgotten about framing General Tang. General Tang had been framed and died in battle. Now, he had no way to carry out his previous plan. He still had to appease the family Tang and take care of General Tang's funeral. He also had to give him a posthumous title. Xianyuan Mo had a headache and was worried about what the spy had said. Could there really be so many spies in the heavenly Qin kingdom? General Tang's matter meant that the other party had hidden it very well. General Tang had been poisoned and died in battle. This had completely disrupted Xianyuan Mo's plans. After dealing with all kinds of troubles, he still had to comfort the sorrowful imperial concubine. He even went to a Ningxiang's place less. The Yin family was also somewhat dumbfounded. They could only silently hide in a corner, not daring to make a sound. The imperial concubines had not been making a fuss recently. They did not play mahjong. Every day, someone would come to Tanggua's palace to express their concern. Imperial concubine Jijia, my condolences. Concubine Meng didn't know what to say. With General Tang's death, Imperial concubine Nyang's backer had fallen. However, she wasn't very happy. Recently, she had gotten along well with Imperial concubine Nyang. She had also read a lot of novels, and she had learned a lot of principles. The Imperial concubines were not fools. The book belonged to the Imperial concubine, so she must have read it. It was impossible for the Imperial consort to not understand the logic that they could understand. His Majesty made Tanggua Imperial consort not because he liked her. As for the favor later on, it was not necessarily not because of General Tang. Tanggua's eyes were red as she said, "This consort is fine. Meilon, light some calming incense for Ben Gong." Meilon did as she was told. Not long after, green smoke rose in spirals, and the fragrance that assaulted Meng Fei's face made her so comfortable that she closed her eyes. Suddenly, concubine Meng opened her eyes and looked at the imperial concubine who had fallen asleep on the soft couch. She then looked at the burning incense with an indescribable expression. "Meilon, what kind of incense is this?" Where did it come from? Concubine Meng clenched her hands tightly. Previously, she had heard that it was called calming incense. It couldn't have been sent by His Majesty, right? Meilong said, this is something that His Majesty specially found for Nyang. It's called calming incense. Concubine Meng almost fell over, but she hurriedly steadied herself. As she looked at the sleeping Tanggua, a bitter smile appeared on her face. Her heart was cold. It turned out that imperial concubine Nyang, who had been greatly favored for a time, was not His Majesty's true love. She had been envious of this for a long time. In the end, it really made her feel sad. It's not good to light this incense for too long. Imperial concubine Jijia is already asleep. Withdraw it. Chapter 449. Meilong obediently removed the calming incense, but Meng Fei didn't leave. She waited for Tanggua to wake up. Meng Fei hasn't left yet. No, I'm waiting for Gui Fei Jijia. Tanggua got up and put on her clothes. Then she asked, is there anything else? If Meng Fei is bored, go back to your palace to play. Ben Gong isn't in the mood right now. Mimi isn't in the mood either. Meng Fei sighed and changed the topic. Jijia likes that calming incense very much. It's a gift from His Majesty. Of course I like it. Tanggua's mouth curved. After lighting this incense, I can sleep well. Gui Fei Jijia, this incense is good, but it's better to light less. Meng Fei didn't know what to say. There were many spies in the palace. The more she said, the more mistakes she would make. Originally, she wanted to remind Tanggua, but this matter was related to His Majesty. She didn't dare to speak carelessly. She held Tanggua's hand and whispered, Gui Fei Jijia, I heard that every medicine is 30% poisonous. This incense is the same. Tanggua met Meng Fei's eyes and smiled. His Majesty gave it to me. I'm used to lighting it every day. If I don't light it, I won't get used to it. I'm afraid he won't be happy if I put it away. She pushed Meng Fei away. Meng Fei, go back. I'll find you to play again later. Meng Fei didn't speak again. How should she remind her? She didn't know if she should speak about this matter. She got up and was about to leave when Tanggua called her from behind. Meng Fei. Gui Fei Jijia. Meng Fei turned around and saw Tanggua smiling. Don't think about this incense anymore. He gave it to me, so I'm willing to light it. Meng Fei was shocked. She looked at Tanggua in disbelief. There was only one thought in her mind. Gui Fei already knew. Since she knew, why did she still use it? Thinking back to that sentence just now, he gave it to me, so I'm willing to light it. Consort Meng smiled bitterly and nodded, yes, younger sister understands. No wonder Consort Gui had so many books here. She was able to wake them up, but not herself. Was she unwilling to wake up? Meng Fei felt her heart turn cold. Where will the emperor's heart fall? Or, it wouldn't fall on any woman. The emperor didn't have a heart to begin with. She staggered away, and the last bit of hope she had for the emperor dissipated. Why bother? Fortunately, she had not fallen too deeply. It was a pity that a beauty like the imperial consort had been treated so ruthlessly. To think that Xianyuan Mo could be so ruthless about the long-lost peacefulness incense. Tanggua watched as Meng Fei left in a daze. She raised her eyebrows slightly and the corners of her mouth turned up. The women in the palace are really good at imagining things. Just by revealing a little bit, they can guess the entire plot. The women in the palace have never disappointed me. How did Madam Host know that concubine Meng could tell that there was something wrong with the incense? Wasn't it introduced in the plot? Is that so? Why didn't he notice? In the plot, when Meng Fei appeared, didn't she say that her mother was a descendant of the incense maker? Kiki lost her mother when she was 8 years old. Would her mother be willing to ruin such good craftsmanship in her own hands? Isn't there still a plot after that? Consort Meng never uses incense. There was once when she even reminded Consort Yin not to light incense, saying that the incense is not good. I am going to read the plot. After General Tang died in battle, Tang Guo naturally became sick. This illness lasted for half a year. Of course, Xianyuan Mo would come to see her every day during the day, but after seeing her, he would leave in a hurry. After General Tang died in battle, the morale of the soldiers of the Tianqin kingdom was greatly reduced, causing the tribes at the border to repeatedly invade, as if they were demonstrating against the Tianqin kingdom. Chapter 450. The plan had been completely disrupted, and the most prestigious general had been poisoned to death by the enemy. The citizens of the Tianqin kingdom were furious. However, those tribes were very happy. Even the great general of the Tianqin kingdom had been schemed against by them. Wouldn't that mean that they could snatch resources and beauties from the Tianqin kingdom? Xianyuan Mo was so busy that he didn't have the time to plan for the imperial concubine to step down and confer the title to his beloved woman. In the imperial court, when he asked who could go to the border to quell the chaos, his gaze suddenly fell on the father and son of the Yin family. The Yin family was also a military general, and there were quite a few men in the Yin family. Xianyuan Mo pondered for a moment. Those tribes only looked fierce. They had underestimated each other before, which was why they had been tricked. This time, it might be an opportunity for the Yin family to rise up. If the father and son of the Yin family were to quell the chaos, he could first raise Ningxiang's status. Compared to suddenly conferring Ningxiang as the empress, it was more fitting. When the time came, the father and son of the Yin family would only raise in Ningxiang's status. However, he would not go to the other party and would still go to the imperial concubine's palace. The others would not take Ningxiang seriously. And by doing so, it proved that he doted on the imperial concubine more. When the plan came to his mind, Xianyuan Mo gave the father and son of the Yin family a look. Actually, even if Xianyuan Mo didn't say it, the Yin family also had the same idea. He immediately stood up and volunteered to fight. After the matter was resolved, Xianyuan Mo felt much better and decided to secretly tell Ningxiang about it at night. But during the day, he still had to go to the imperial concubine's palace to take a look. When he arrived at the imperial concubine's palace, he did not stop the palace maids from reporting. He walked in with light steps and saw the thin beauty leaning on the soft couch and flipping through a book. Her face was not as rosy as it was half a year ago. Her face was still as beautiful as ever, but there was a hint of melancholy between her brows, making one's heart ache unknowingly. Xianyuan Mo subconsciously ignored that feeling and made a sound. He walked in front of her and asked, "What book is the imperial concubine reading?" "Some interesting books." Tang Guo put the book aside. "Most of them are books made up of secret court histories from ancient dynasties." Xianyuan Mo picked it up and flipped through it, but his brows furrowed. Why does the imperial concubine like to read these novels? His hands were still trembling, because wasn't what the novel was talking about what he was doing? "I'm just a little bored." Tang Guo looked up at him. "Ah Mo, you're the only one I have in the future." Hearing this, Xianyuan Mo's heart tightened. What is Imperial Consort worried about? "I'm afraid that Ah Mo will leave me in the future, and then I'll really be all alone." The woman's eyes dimmed. There are so many beauties in the palace, Ah Mo might fall in love with someone else one day. "I'm not afraid of people saying that I'm a jealous consort, and I'm not afraid of people saying that I'm cruel." Her watery eyes stared at him. "I'm just afraid that Ah Mo doesn't like me. Just like what's written in the novel, Ah Mo likes other women." How could that be? Imperial consort, you're worrying too much. I won't like anyone else. Xianyuan Mo patted her shoulder. Seeing the tears on her face, he raised his hand to help her wipe them. I will protect you, even if General Tang is not here. Really? Really? Looking at her serious expression, Xianyuan Mo gritted his teeth and lied in the end. With that, he saw her reveal a brilliant smile. She hugged his waist and said in a low voice, "Ah, Mo, you're so nice. They all say that emperors are heartless. Father used to say the same thing, telling me not to give you all my heart, but I didn't believe him. At that time, I told father that Mo wasn't such a person. Sure enough, Mo really isn't that kind of person. Mo, you're so nice." Chapter 451. Xianyuan Mo walked out of the palace in a daze. His mind could not get rid of the woman's pale face, the brilliant smile, the love and trust, which made him feel heavy. From the day she entered the palace, he had not told her a single truth. She actually believed it. This was ridiculous. There was actually someone who believed every word he said. He clutched his sour heart. What was wrong with him? Why did his heart hurt and feel terrible when he thought about how he had never told her a single truth? Xianyuan Mo quickly blocked out these emotions and threw himself into the complicated politics of the court. Only when he was busy would he not let his imagination run wild. He was busy until late at night. He had forgotten to tell Ningxiang that the father and son of the Yin family were going to war. "Your Majesty, are you going to noble Lady Anne's palace?" Xianyuan Mo looked at the sky. Did royal brother go to the imperial concubine's palace tonight? Yes, he left very early. Xianyuan Mo's heart tightened as he clenched his fists. He didn't know why, but he had the urge to stop his royal brother. But he couldn't. He and his royal brother were exactly the same. They definitely couldn't appear in front of outsiders at the same time. The eunuch didn't know what Xianyuan Mo was thinking. He thought that he was considering whether to go to Ningxiang's palace. Just as he was about to ask, Xianyuan Mo spoke up. "I won't be going tonight. Send someone to tell Ningxiang that the father and son of the Yin family are going to war. I'll go see her tomorrow night." Xianyuan Mo rubbed his temples. He had been busy all day and was indeed very tired. The eunuch did not suspect anything and did as he was told. Xianyuan Mo walked into the dark room of the palace but did not rest. This dark room led directly to Xianyuan Mie's palace. Xianyuan Mie's palace was a forbidden area in the palace. Other than him and a few trusted aides of the royal family, no one knew that the person living inside was his twin brother. Every day, they would meet here, early in the morning and late at night. If Xianyuan Mie wanted to appear in front of others, he would have to wait here. In fact, this place was originally built by the late emperor to cultivate the relationship between the two brothers. He hoped that they could get along well and protect the Tianqin kingdom together. How could the late emperor know that this place was being used by Xianyuan Mo in such a way? It was used to exchange identities so that his royal brother, Xianyuan Mie, would visit his imperial concubine. Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. He held the cold teacup in his hand, feeling very uncomfortable. Thinking of how she shyly lay in his imperial brother's arms, his heart twitched. Xianyuan Mo slapped the table in frustration. He pursed his lips tightly and stared at the weak candlelight. He felt that the night was really long, so long that it was unbelievably long. "You're not allowed to get too close to my stupid brother in the future." Xianyuan Mie was carefully helping Tang Guo wash her hands. "He has touched other women before. He will dirty Guo's hands." She was obviously jealous, but she had to make it sound so elegant and refined. After wiping her hands dry, he kissed her back and placed her hands on his face before moving them to his chest. Guo only touches me and only leans in my arms. Guo He stared at the smiling beauty in front of him. He looked extremely pitiful, like an abandoned puppy. Tang Guo raised her eyebrows slightly and pinched his handsome cheeks. She stared at him and said, "Mie, you're not cute anymore." Xianyuan Mie's heart trembled. He hurriedly held her small hand and pulled her into his embrace. Guo Tang Guo yawned and glanced at the palace dress that had turned to ashes. "You've washed your hands and burned your clothes." Yeah, it's not good to be too greedy." Chapter 452. Xianyuan Mo had been waiting in the secret room all night. When he heard movement in the secret room, he raised his head stiffly and saw Xianyuan Mia walking in with a happy smile on his face. He clenched his fists and put on a fake smile. "Brother, you're late today. If you didn't come, I would have missed court." "I can make it." Xianyuan Mia sat down on his seat and said indifferently, "Go ahead." That elated look made Xianyuan Mo's mood sour. "Looks like brother had another night of fun last night. Are you very satisfied with my imperial concubine?" "Of course." When Xianyuan Mia thought of that person, the smile in his eyes never disappeared. The imperial concubine is a good woman. Xianyuan Mo's heart skipped a beat as he thought of an unbelievable possibility. He stared at Xianyuan Mia. "Brother, don't tell me you've really taken a fancy to the imperial concubine?" When he asked this, Xianyuan Mo was especially nervous. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that something precious was about to be snatched away. Xianyuan Mia admitted frankly and nodded. "Yes, I've taken a fancy to the imperial concubine. Otherwise, second brother, do you really think that I would be willing to listen to you and casually be with a woman day and night?" Xianyuan Mo took a step back and his expression changed. "Brother, you should know why I asked you to do this. Isn't it just for that cabbage of yours?" Xianyuan Mia sneered. "I'm not fighting with you for the cabbage. It's just that I like the imperial concubine. Now that the family Tang is gone, you don't have to be afraid of the family Tang forces. Just dote on your cabbage to your heart's content. Is there any conflict with your previous goal?" Xianyuan Mo fell silent when he heard this. After General Tang died in battle, the imperial concubine could be said to have no one to rely on. Indeed, she was no longer feared. Once the Yin family returned with meritorious service this time, he could slowly plan for the conferment of the Empress. He didn't need to worry about the imperial concubine causing any trouble. Xianyuan Mia patted Xianyuan Mo's shoulder, his deep eyes shining with an evil light. "Second brother, you've planned for so long, don't disappoint your cabbage. As for the imperial concubine, she's already mine. When you go to see her during the day, please keep your distance and don't come into close contact with your sister-in-law. I hate it when others covet what belongs to me. Even if you're my younger brother, I won't allow it." Xianyuan Mia said, "As for what you want to do, you can do it. But the only thing is that you are not allowed to do anything to Guo. Look at your woman. If your Bai Kai dares to bully Guo, I will turn her into a rotten flower. Imperial brother, no matter what, she is still my imperial consort in name." Xianyuan Mia shook his head and smiled. "Second brother, since she's your imperial concubine, why did you ask me to do that kind of thing? From the day you decided, it was impossible between the two of you. Regardless of whether you like the imperial concubine or not, this matter has already decided that there is no possibility between the two of you. Actually, I don't like your methods." There was a chill in Xianyuan Mia's eyes. "It doesn't matter if you plan for your family's cauliflower, but you schemed against a person who was once innocent and pure. None of the things you did didn't hurt her. What do you think will happen when she learns the truth one day? Xianyuan Mo's face was ghastly pale as he retreated repeatedly, and he had the impulse to flee. Don't be indecisive when you do things. You should be glad that I have no interest in the throne at all. You know, the thing I hate the most is to be restrained. Father's decree is of no use to me. Remember, Guo is my Xianyuanmie's woman. She is your sister-in-law. Keep a distance from her. Staring at Xianyuan Mo's departing figure, Xianyuanmie's voice sounded with a hint of coldness. Chapter 453. More than half a year had passed since General Tang's death, and Tanggua's palace was once again bustling with activity. Among them, concubine Meng and a few other high-ranking concubines came the most diligently, almost every day. Since that day, concubine Meng was also infinitely close to Tanggua. This caused the other concubines to think that Tanggua gave her some special treatment. Concubine Meng saw that Tanggua's complexion was good and felt a lot more at ease. I heard that the father and son were sent to the border to pacify those tribes. Concubine Meng said carelessly, Big sister concubine Gue, do you still remember Nguyen? Tanggua took a sip of tea and smiled. I remember, it's that very low-key Nguyen who rarely leaves the palace to play. Her appearance is delicate and pretty, and her clothes are plain, but the embroidery on them is not ordinary, right? Big sister concubine Gue has a good memory. Concubine Meng couldn't help but be surprised that embroidery was embroidered by Nguyen herself. It said that she figured it out herself. Tanggua smiled but didn't say anything. And Ningxiang was indeed very talented in embroidery. There was no other reason. And Ningxiang's birth mother was once a very outstanding embroiderer, and Ningxiang's talent was even higher than her birth mother's. Whatever embroidery technique, let her figure it out for 2 or 3 days, and there will definitely be a result. It's just that she has always been low-key, so her reputation hasn't been spread. Host, do you have any thoughts about Ningxiang? The system vaguely smelled something. Tanggua shook her head, no thoughts, she's just a woman deeply in love with an emperor. I don't have any thoughts about her. I just feel that her existence is also very lamentable. Lamentable? This concubine is here, the truth will come out one day. The day Xianyuan Mo knows the truth will be the day she ends up miserably. Don't you think it's lamentable? In this world, she should be the only one where the original owner's tragic end didn't involve the female lead. This and Ningxiang, how to say it? Because her mother was an embroiderer, she became Darren's concubine. She was intelligent and knew how to observe people's expressions, so she taught Ningxiang a lot since she was young. Especially when she knew that her daughter was going to enter the palace, she carefully taught her for several months. To be able to sit down and embroider for half a day, it could be seen that she was also a person who could keep her composure. Even now, Ningxiang knew the truth, but she never intended to provoke her in front of her. Instead, she quietly stayed in the golden house that Xianyuan Mo built for her, allowing herself to be hidden. From this, it could be seen that he was intelligent, patient, and somewhat scheming. If she succeeded, she could advance. If she didn't, she could retreat. She wouldn't get into trouble at all. She was smart. Xianyuan Mo would take care of everything. She didn't need to do anything superfluous that might cause trouble for herself. I'm just looking forward to seeing Ningxiang's performance on that day, Tanggua said with a smile. The system felt that the host's words were filled with malice. Previously, he was still guessing. Could it be that the host appreciated the female lead's intelligence and was planning to save her once? Now, he finally understood that it was impossible. The host was waiting to see him make a fool of himself. The system expressed its thoughts, and sure enough, Tanggua laughed out loud. The person who programmed you must have a screw loose. Why should I help her? I'm waiting to see him make a fool of himself. She and I have no reason at all. The Yin family even plans to work together with Xianyuan Mo to deal with my father. It's already merciful not to take the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. The system chuckled. When the time came, wouldn't it be the same whether it added fuel to the fire or not? In any case, the Yin family is the most miserable. No, the most miserable is still Xianyuan Mo. Chapter 454. There is cause and effect. In her previous life, Ningxiang became the empress and used up all her blessings. No matter what happens in this life, it's just a cycle of cause and effect. Sometimes when I think about it, it's really unfair. If I want to get results, I have to plan carefully. The male and female leads with halos can just sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. Tongzi, does the heavenly Tao have ill intentions towards me? System, he really doesn't know. But there are still benefits. After experiencing so many worlds, the things that I have grasped are all my own. They are all in my head. Now, even if you casually put me naked in a random world, I can still live very well. The system was dripping with cold sweat. It was good that the host understood. It was just afraid that the host would get excited and ask for a groundless gift package. It wasn't that it didn't want to give it, it really didn't have it. It was just a system that only stored the plot and had nothing else. No, its current ability was still okay. It was just that this was the ancient world and there was no internet. It was also very helpless and could only be a listening device. Gue Fei Jijie is in a good mood today. Consort Meng smiled and asked, "Do you want to go to the Imperial Garden to admire the flowers? You've been sick for more than half a year. It's time to go out for a walk." Sure. Tanggua suddenly understood. So spring had come. No wonder the weather was much hotter these few days. But little sisters, please wait a moment. This consort needs to change her clothes. The color of the clothes I'm wearing is too dull. It's not suitable to walk in a garden full of flowers. All the imperial concubines, change again. How many times does she have to change in a day? The imperial concubines happily walked towards the imperial garden. The beauties stood by the flowers and watched the various blooming flowers. It was also a unique scene. The imperial concubines admired the flowers and recited poems. They got along very harmoniously. Coincidentally, at this time, two familiar people walked over from the other side. Who else could it be but Concubine Lon and Concubinen? The two quickly saw Tanggua's group and hurriedly went up to greet them. I really didn't expect to meet Gue Fei Nyang here. Concubine Lon had always been a straightforward person. Is Gue Fei Nyang's body well? When Gue Fei Nyang was seriously ill, us little sisters were worried to death. It's good that you've recovered. This little sister is really relieved. Noble Ladian, on the other hand, bowed respectfully and stood to the side, not saying anything. Even at this time, General Tang died in battle, and the father and son were sent to the border to suppress the rebellious tribes. She was still neither arrogant nor impetuous. She was content to be an invisible person. Tanggua's gaze landed on the sachet at Ngairen's waist. She said with some interest, "That sachet at Ngairen's waist looks quite unique. This consort finds the embroidery somewhat familiar. Can you show it to me?" And Guiren did not dare to disobey. She carefully removed the sachet and handed it to Meilon. Tanggua held it in her hand and played with it for a while. Then she smiled and said, looking at it from afar, "It looks very similar to the embroidery method of the sachet that this consort once lost. Looking at it carefully, there are still some differences in the stitches. The embroidery of Noble Lady Anne's sachet is much cruder than mine." All the concubines' eyelids twitched. Imperial consort Nyang, Is it really okay for you to bully a little noble lady like this and show off in front of her? And Ningxiang looked at Tang Guo with some surprise. Gui Fei Nyang once had a sachet that was even more exquisite than this one. Yes. Tang Guo handed the sachet to Mei Lan and indicated for her to return it to Nguyen. Then she said, "When I was young, I accidentally lost it in an accident." Chapter 455. That was left behind by this consort's mother. This consort's mother was from beyond the Great Wall and was proficient in the embroidery techniques of beyond the Great Wall. Unfortunately, mother's health wasn't good and she passed away not long after giving birth to this consort. This sachet was given to this consort by father. He said that mother had long prepared this for this consort. When the consorts saw this, they hurriedly comforted her. The embroidery techniques of Beyond the Great Wall are slightly more complicated and the colors used are also quite bold. It's not like our Central Plains, where the colors have to look exquisite and the colors can't be too messy. But this consort sachet, when this consort had time, this consort counted it. There were also 88 colors on it. It didn't look messy at all. Instead, it complemented each other very well. If one didn't look carefully, they really wouldn't be able to tell. And Ningxiang gripped the handkerchief tightly. 88 colors. Why did it look so much like the sachet she picked up when she was young? The first time she counted the colors, she only counted 66. As she grew older, she was able to distinguish more clearly. When she counted 88 colors, she was also stunned. If it wasn't for her mother's teachings, she really wouldn't have been able to count how many colors there were. Some colors only had a slight difference. It was really inconceivable that there were so many colors on a small sachet. That sachet was something she picked up by the river when she was young. She had been exposed to embroidery since she was young and thought that it had a lot of research value, so she brought it back. She had indeed figured out many special embroidery techniques from it, but she still hadn't figured them out. She had only learned a few things. After entering the palace, she had left the sachet in her boudoir. Later, she had asked someone to pass a message to her family that she wanted to bring the sachet in. However, her family had sent her a letter saying that they hadn't found it. She could only blame it on being accidentally lost. She felt extremely regretful. Now that she heard Tang Guo's words, and Ningxiang's heart thumped. That couldn't really be the sachet that Gui Fei had left behind, right? She had always been cautious. No matter how much she wanted to know, she wouldn't ask. There was a small golden lock in that sachet. It was a gift from this consort's father. Tang Guo had a regretful expression. It's really a pity. This time, Ningxiang couldn't remain calm. She was certain that the sachet belonged to Gui Fei. When she picked it up, there was indeed a small golden lock in the sachet. She was not interested in the golden lock and let it be in the sachet. Instead, she studied the embroidery on the sachet every day. Now that the sachet had been lost, even if it hadn't been lost, Ningxiang would never admit that she had picked it up. Who knew what kind of trouble it would cause? Tang Guo glanced at Ningxiang's lowered eyes and found it funny. She rolled her eyes and had a naughty idea. She asked Mei Lan to prepare a brush and ink. All the concubines thought that she was going to paint or write a poem, but they didn't expect that she would spend an hour to paint a small and exquisite sachet. Here, little sisters, take a look. Isn't the sachet that Ben Gong lost very beautiful? It's even more exquisite than Nguyen's. All the concubines looked over. Wasn't that right? What was even more admirable was the imperial concubine's excellent drawing skills. It was clearly a dead object, but she drew it so vividly that they all thought it was real and wanted to touch it. It was as if she had drawn every stitch and thread. Meng Fei stood to the side and looked at the woman with beautiful dimples. Her heart was filled with complex emotions. Her appearance could topple cities and her drawing skills were superb. It was said that Gue Fei had also practiced martial arts when she was young. If it wasn't for the accident later on, she would have been considered a peerless beauty that was both civil and martial. This kind of woman had actually entered the palace. And Ningxiang looked at the familiar sachet and lowered her head even more. This secret should rot in her heart. Chapter 456. Since that day, Ningxiang almost never left her room. Tang Gua had long excused the imperial concubine from paying respects to her. The reason was that she wanted to sleep in and didn't want to wake up too early. There was no one else who could give this reason. If word got out, it would make people despise the imperial concubine for being extravagant and arrogant. General Tang was still around, and many people still endured it. General Tang had been dead for more than half a year, and many people had some complaints about this imperial concubine. Recently, Xianyuan Mo also received memorials from the ministers, hoping that the reign and duke could be shared equally. Of course, Xianyuan Mo rejected them. He mocked them directly, "You're all concerned about my harem. Back then, when I wanted someone to go to the border to quell the chaos, why didn't anyone take the initiative to step forward? Since all of you are so free, why don't I give you a title and go to the border to quell the chaos and make military contributions before coming back? If I hear such words again in the future, I will also be very interested in caring about your harem." Xianyuan Mo's firm reply made the ministers speechless. The current emperor was no longer the emperor who had just ascended the throne who could be easily manipulated. They looked at each other and observed the few officials who had concubines in the harem. They found that they were calm and had no intention of impeaching the imperial concubine for dominating the harem. They were a little puzzled. Today, they thought that countless people would agree with the memorials. This was different from what they had imagined. After the court, someone couldn't help but pull a minister who was closer to him and ask, "Lord Meng, what do you mean by this?" "I don't mean anything." "Lord Liu, why are you pulling me along?" Lord Meng had a serious look on his face as if he didn't know anything, which made Lord Liu scold him as an old fox. He chuckled, "Lord Meng, don't you have any thoughts about the imperial concubine dominating the harem?" "What thoughts can I have?" Lord Meng raised his eyelids. "That's the imperial concubine's ability. It's better for us to not interfere with His Majesty's harem. This official remembers that Lord Liu has 18 concubines in his family. Be careful not to be targeted by His Majesty." With that, Lord Meng waved his sleeves and left with a smile. His daughter was doing very well now. Why should she do such an annoying thing? Thinking of the news his daughter sent back, his expression became complicated. It was better for the Meng family not to interfere in the imperial concubine's matter. It would be best if he didn't flatter him or hit him when he was down. His Majesty's thoughts were becoming more and more unpredictable. "Your Highness, what are you looking for?" When Meilon heard Tang Gua instructing her to rummage through the chests that had been brought into the palace by the general's estate, she inquired considerately. The items that were previously stored in the chests were all made by this servant. If Nyang Nyang needs anything, there is no harm in telling this servant. This way, it will be faster to find them. Tang Gua smiled and nodded. "That's true. I forgot that Meilon was the one who did all of this. Do you still remember that father once gave this consort a small box that contained all of mother's belongings? Aside from this consort's most treasured sachet, everything else was in that box." "I remember. This servant will go look for it now." Meilon had a vague impression of it. She searched for the box in her memory. Soon, she pulled out a small box, which was about the size of a book. "Your Highness, take a look. Is this it?" Tang Gua glanced at the box and nodded. "Give it to me." "This is it." Meilon thought that Tang Guo wanted to look at the box to think of someone, so she stood to the side in silence. Nyang Nyang lost her mother when she was born, and now the general was also gone. She originally thought that His Majesty treated Nyang Nyang well, but she didn't expect that it was just an illusion. Thinking about it this way, that man who looked like His Majesty was probably the person who treated Nyang Nyang the best in the world. Chapter 457. Tang Guo opened the box. There were some small trinkets inside. Her ultimate goal was a brocade handkerchief. This brocade handkerchief was originally carried by General Tang. Later on, when she entered the palace, General Tang put the brocade handkerchief into the box, indicating that it should be passed on to her. Tang Guo unfolded the brocade handkerchief and looked at the exquisite patterns on it, as well as the small words embroidered on the side. Her eyes flashed. Those who didn't know would think that this was just an ordinary brocade handkerchief, but as long as they saw the contents, they would understand that it wasn't that simple. On this brocade handkerchief was a long-lost embroidery technique from beyond the Great Wall. It was also the embroidery technique that she had once used on her sachet. Tang Guo's father and mother met outside the Great Wall. At that time, General Tang was still an 18-year-old boy. He was handsome and had excellent martial arts skills. When he was quelling the rebellion, he happened to encounter her mother using embroidery to deal with a few hooligans. He admired her and helped her mother deal with those hooligans. The two of them hit it off at first sight. When they met again, they fell in love with each other. Her mother and father returned. Although she had good embroidery skills and her martial arts weren't bad, due to her early injuries, her health wasn't good. To be able to live to the age of 20 was already a miracle. Sure enough, not long after she was born, she was gone. From then on, General Tang doted on his beloved daughter wholeheartedly and had no intention of taking in a concubine. Everyone in the heavenly Qin kingdom knew that General Tang doted on his daughter to the point of obsession. He had completely doted on Miss Tang of the family into a little princess. Mother knew that she wouldn't live long and couldn't bear to see this kind of skill lost, so she used embroidery to leave it on this brocade handkerchief. For the past 2 days, Tang Guo had been studying this complicated embroidery technique. In the world that she had transmigrated to, she had been an embroiderer and knew countless embroidery techniques. However, she had never seen the one in front of her. After looking at it for 3 to 5 days, she felt that she had more or less understood it and began to make the sachet. Meilon had been by Tang Guo's side all day. She was stunned when she saw her exquisite skills. This is the skill that mother left behind. That day, when I saw the sachet on Noble Ladian, I suddenly remembered that I can't let this skill be lost. Meilon expressed her understanding. Now that Her Highness no longer had any relatives, she could only search for these items that belonged to her loved ones. Nyang Nyang, who did you make this sachet for? Meilon knew in her heart that it definitely wasn't for the emperor. Sure enough, Tang Guo smiled. Who else could it be? Of course, it's the one who came over tonight. The corners of Tang Guo's mouth curled up slightly. When the time was right, this sachet would be of great use. At night, when Xianyuan Mia came, that person was different from before. She was not reading a storybook, but embroidering. He walked over quietly, not daring to disturb her or touch her. He was afraid that she would be frightened and prick her finger. He sat quietly by the side and watched her embroidery. This kind of peaceful beauty also made him feel very wonderful. At this moment, he only wanted her to call him wife. He looked at the embroidered pattern and found it hard to explain. He thought that Guo would embroider some flowers or eagles. He never thought that she would embroider a very cute puppy. Does it look good? Yes, very cute. Xianyuan Mia hurriedly praised, his hand holding her waist. How did Guo have the interest to do this? It's for Mia. Do you want it? A sachet with a puppy embroidered on it was for him. Although wearing a sachet with a puppy embroidered on it didn't match his image, why was he so happy? He couldn't wait to throw away the sachet at his waist and wear this cute sachet to wave in front of his subordinates. He even wanted to wave it in front of Xianyuan Mo. I want it. Chapter 458. I truly embroidered this sachet for you. Tang Guo helped Xianyuan Mia put on the rusted sachet and touched the puppy pattern on it. But it's also true that I'm using you to do something. Xianyuan Mia didn't mind at all. He touched the sachet and revealed a row of neat teeth, but there was still a hint of wickedness in the corner of his mouth. As long as Guo likes it. He was more than willing to make use of her, be it mentally or physically. Before I remind you, Mia is not allowed to reveal the existence of this sachet to Xianyuan Mo. Xianyuan Mia narrowed his eyes. Okay. Although it was a little regretful, it was right to listen to Guo. Don't be regretful. When the time is right, you can announce it to the whole world. Tang Guo smiled. In the future, I'll make clothes for you and shoes for you. I can even appear in front of Xianyuan Mo every day. However, Xianyuan Mia held her small, fair hand and kissed it. No, Guo's hands are not suitable for such rough work. There are people who can make clothes and shoes. If Guo really has the heart, she can just make some small sachets. Doing these would hurt her eyes. He couldn't bear for her to tire herself out. Her body wasn't good to begin with. If she damaged her body because of these, he would regret it for the rest of his life. He pulled her to the side and sat down. Then, he began to massage her knees. Every time he looked up, he could see her smiling and loving gaze. He was satisfied that Guo liked him. This woman was really good to him. Not to mention making use of him a little, even if she made use of him a lot, he wouldn't even frown if she wanted his life. Tonight, Guo, do you like me a little more? He placed his palms on her knees and asked with infinite tenderness in his eyes. Tang Guo held his head and kissed his forehead. I like Mia a little more. That's great. Father-in-law's side is progressing very smoothly. With the items Guo gave him, father-in-law is a very charismatic person. He has already gathered a group of very loyal subordinates. Not only that, but the veterans who had retired due to various injuries were also found by General Tang and quietly taken away. After knowing what had happened to Tang Guo, countless veterans were furious and were willing to follow General Tang. Xianyuan Mia wanted to interfere, but both General Tang and Tang Guo stopped him. The father and daughter were really the same, but it was enough to prove that they were both capable people. Xianyuan Mia thought more than once that it was no wonder he fell in love with her at first sight. Guo was so outstanding that it made one's hair stand on end. Could it be that the heavens were too jealous of such an outstanding Guo that they left her with a body full of illnesses? I have something else that I want you to give to my father. Tang Guo gestured for Meilong to bring over the booklet she had prepared. Without sealing it, she handed it over to Xianyuan Mia. With the things inside, not to mention a mere Tianqin kingdom, even the entire world might not be impossible to take down. However, my father and I are not that ambitious. We only need to occupy a piece of land and have the power to attack the heavenly Qin kingdom at any time. Xianyuan Mia found it funny. What a good lack of ambition. However, this was not something that anyone could do. The heavenly Qin kingdom was not a small country, but a superpower. This father and daughter pair were amazing. He had no intention of opening the booklet and kept it in his arms. Guo gave it to him without sealing it. It was clear that she trusted him. No matter what good things it was, he did not care. All he cared about was the person in front of him. Chapter 459. For half a year, Xianyuan Mo was busy uncovering the spies planted by the border tribes. The father and son of the Yin family also made contributions at the border, beating those tribes until they didn't dare to invade again. For a time, the Yin family's momentum in the imperial court soared. After returning to the imperial court, they were naturally rewarded, and the Yin family became a new rising power. The small concubine in the harem also received a promotion because of the Yin family. From a small 6th-rank concubine into a 5th-rank concubine. Everyone thought that Xianyuan Mo would go to Ningxiang's place that night, but they didn't expect that he would go to the imperial concubine's palace. With this thought, everyone understood that the emperor only promoted concubine and because of the Yin family. He didn't like concubine in his heart, and he still liked the imperial concubine. No one knew that the one who came to comfort the imperial concubine at night was Xianyuan Mia, and concubine and could see the emperor almost every night. "I've wronged Ningxiang." Xianyuan Mo hugged the woman in his arms. "Now that the Yin family is on the rise, as long as it stabilizes, we will definitely give them a chance. At that time, we can promote your position, which is more convincing than reaching the heavens in a single step." Mo, you're so good." And Ningxiang's heart was sweet. She thought of the elegant imperial concubine and hesitated. "If Mo makes me empress, I wonder what imperial concubine will do." The one who went to the imperial concubine's palace was another man. For the sake of the imperial family's face, Xianyuan Mo definitely wouldn't use this matter to make trouble. General Tang had already died in battle, and the glory of the family Tang could no longer bring the imperial concubine anything. It could be said that once Xianyuan Mo didn't like the imperial concubine, her life wouldn't be easy. Xianyuan Mo also suddenly fell silent. If Ningxiang became the empress, of course he wouldn't dote on the imperial concubine anymore. The person he liked from the beginning was Ningxiang, and the imperial concubine was just a shield he set up for Ningxiang. According to the original plan, General Tang had betrayed the country, and the imperial concubine would also be implicated and banished to the cold palace. Now, this method didn't work. His imperial brother had said that the imperial concubine was the other party's person, so he really didn't dare to do anything to the imperial concubine. In fact, in the depths of his heart, he really didn't want to do anything to the imperial concubine. After thinking about it, he said, "Let's do it this way." And Ningxiang pinched her sleeves and pursed her lips. "Is this okay? If Ningxiang becomes the empress, she will definitely be targeted by countless people. It's better to have a Gue Fei in front of her. That way, Ningxiang will have less trouble." Xianyuan Mo explained, "If the imperial consort makes any mistakes because of your existence, it won't be too late to punish her then." And Ningxiang's heart relaxed. So Mo was thinking for her. However, she still felt uncomfortable. She was going to be the empress in the future, and Mo wanted to do the same. He wanted everyone to think that the person he doted on was the imperial consort. As the empress, she was not favored. Although the imperial concubine's experience made people sympathize with her, people were selfish when it came to relationships. No woman could accept the misconception that the person she loved and doted on someone else. But Ningxiang was smart. She would not tell Xianyuan Mo these thoughts. She did not believe that the concubines in the imperial harem would be able to tolerate the imperial concubines being favored year after year. Once she became the imperial concubine, she would only need to watch from the sidelines. Year after year, 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Because of the Yin family's father and son, and Ningxiang's status rose again and again. Now, she was no longer concubine, but was respectfully addressed as concubine Xian. Concubine Meng was promoted to concubine Mengda, concubine Yin was promoted to concubine Yin, concubine Lan was promoted to concubine Lan, concubine Hironghua was promoted to concubine Hironghua, concubine Yun was promoted to concubine Yun. And Tanghua, who was originally the head of the 4 concubines, was promoted to imperial concubine. Chapter 460. Except for Ningxiang, who was promoted willingly by Xianyuan Mo, the others were promoted when Tang Guo mentioned it. He was very happy to do this. Only in this way, Ningxiang was actually inconspicuous. In just a few years, she went from a concubine to a virtuous concubine. This kind of promotion speed was very shocking when one thought about it carefully. But when everyone was promoted together, many people thought that Ningxiang was not valued. Otherwise, every time she made a contribution to the Yin family, she would be promoted. How could others also be promoted? It was obvious that the emperor did not value her. The harem was a place for countless women. Many people were selected in these years, and there were often all kinds of dirty things. Whether it was the high-ranking concubines or the masters who were promoted, they were all secretly fighting. In fact, they did not know what they were fighting for. Clearly, the emperor only went to the imperial Guifei's palace for so many years. The only difference was that no matter how the high-ranking concubines fought, they would never burn Tang Guo's palace. Naturally, they would not dare to burn it. There was a very strange phenomenon. There were often rumors that many high-ranking concubines would go to the imperial Guifei's palace early in the morning every day. When they left, their eyes were red, as if they had suffered a great grievance. The scary thing was, the next day, they rushed over early in the morning again. When they left, many of them were red in the face. Sometimes, they would meet a few high-ranking concubines. After they came out of the palace, they would start to ridicule one another. Concubine Mengde, you are too much. Look at the smile on your face. This concubine is very disgusted. Concubine Yin Shu, this concubine is warning you. If you dare to do those things again, this concubine will definitely teach you a lesson. He Xiaoyuan timely said, if you want to go too far, who can compare to the imperial Guifei? When concubine Mengde and concubine Yin Shu heard this name, their eyes became red. They gritted their teeth and said hatefully, yes, the imperial Guifei is the most excessive. There is no one in the palace who is more annoying than her. Thinking of what happened before, concubine Mengde was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. That imperial Guifei was really too hateful. Didn't she just secretly change a tile? She actually punished her to not touch mahjong in the palace for 3 days. Wasn't this asking for her old life? Sister consort Des is still all right. He Xiaoyuan looked aggrieved. She had lost the game and had lost all her savings. She made a military pledge that she would use her underwear as a wager. The imperial noble consort, who had never lost or won, had actually won consecutively until she really lost her bellyband in the imperial noble consort's palace. That was really embarrassing. Yin Shufei patted her chest. Sigh, how infuriating. She had only said that because she had won a day's worth of mahjong, she had gotten carried away and said that imperial noble consort Jiejia's mahjong skills were only a so-so. In the end, the treasures that she had won in 3 days were all lost to the imperial Guifei in 2 hours. The 3 of them looked at each other and spat at the same time. Let's go. We'll come back tomorrow to pay our respects to our imperial Guifei. The 3 of them clenched their fists and left. Their hateful looks made everyone think that they had a deep grudge against Tang Guo. Tang Guo looked at the room full of fruits and slowly tasted the tea. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Mei Lan was already prostrating herself in admiration. Her Imperial Highness was still the best. Starting tomorrow, He Xiaoyuan will probably have to wear 2 more bellybands before she dares to play mahjong. Mei Lan held back her laughter. Wasn't that right? Consort Yin Shu also won't dare to talk nonsense and question Ben Gong's mahjong skills. That's right. Her Imperial Highness mahjong skills were godly. Who could compare? I didn't think that concubine Mengda was the kind of person with bad mahjong skills. You actually dared to secretly change your tiles. Do you think Ben Gong's eyes and memory are bad? Chapter 461. It was unknown when it started, but inside and outside the court, everyone was praising Consort Xian's character. There were even people who commented that Consort Xian's character was worthy of being empress. However, these rumors were quickly suppressed by the Yin family. They even released a statement saying that they did not want to hear such unrighteous rumors about the Yin family. Once they caught the person who spread the news, they would definitely report him to the emperor and punish him. Sure enough, no one said that Consort Xian's character was worthy of being empress in front of others. Instead, they said that the Yin family's character was good behind their backs. General An was strict in governing the family. No wonder he had a daughter like Consort Xian. One summer, there was a flood in the Tianjin state. No one knew what Xianyuan Mo was thinking. He actually wanted to take the high-ranking concubines in the palace to experience the people's livelihood. And Ningxiang even suggested that the concubines should reduce their expenses and make a donation so that the victims could survive this disaster. When this move was made, it attracted the praise of countless people. It was a pity that a person like Consort Xian did not become empress. As for the imperial noble consort, she was arrogant and licentious and liked to enjoy life. She was beautiful, but her character and virtue could not compare to Consort Xian's. Some courtiers were also restless. The emperor had been on the throne for many years, so it was time to appoint an empress. Even if he doted on the imperial noble consort, shouldn't he appoint a true master of the harem? Besides, the emperor was almost 30 years old and still did not have an heir. Those who did not like the imperial noble consort to begin with once again sent a memorial to impeach her. However, Xianyuan Mo had yet to read these memorials and wanted to take the concubines to experience the people's livelihood. If Guo doesn't want to go, then don't go. Xianyuan Mia was not satisfied. He did not expect his younger brother to have so many tricks up his sleeves. In order to create momentum for a Ningxiang, he came up with such a method. Tang Guo put down the book and laughed. Go, why wouldn't I go? It's their chance, and also my chance. After so many years, I've given a Ningxiang a chance to grow. It's time for there to be results. She hung her arms around Xianyuan Mia's neck. Mia, it's time to break the window paper. I don't want to feign civility with Xianyuan Mo. I'm tired. Father's almost done. I know. Xianyuan Mia hugged the petite figure and buried his face in her neck. I will have someone protect Guo along the way. Tang Guo smiled. Although my body is a little weak, it's only because of the rainy weather. Usually, there won't be any problems. After all, I've practiced martial arts before. Wasn't that a long time ago? Xianyuan Mia laughed. Tang Guo knew that Xianyuan Mia didn't believe her, so she grabbed his wrist and gently twisted it. Her strength really shocked Xianyuan Mia. Then, he heard Tang Guo say, Mia, let's compete. Tang Guo turned around and drew her sword, which she had found earlier, and attacked Xianyuan Mia. At first, Xianyuan Mia was afraid that he would hurt her, but then he felt that her swordsmanship was extremely exquisite, so he became more serious. Meilon, give Mia a sword. Meilon did as she was told and turned to watch the door. The more the Empress thought of this idea, the crazier she became. She was actually competing in swordsmanship in her bedchamber. What a good mood. An hour later, Tang Guo's face was covered in a thin layer of sweat. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mia stopped and put away his sword. He stepped forward and embraced the enchanting figure tightly in his arms, biting her red lips. After a long time, he let go. Why are you so mesmerizing? Are you bewitched by Amye? I was bewitched the first time and was always distracted. I must hold you in my arms to be at ease. Tangguo was in a good mood. She casually tossed the sword to the side. After the tranquil incense is completed, you and I can be openly exposed in front of others. Yeah, you must be prepared to be scolded. Guo as a woman, isn't afraid. Why would I be? There's no use being afraid. Who told you to attract my attention? Even if I go to hell, I'll drag you down with me. I couldn't ask for more. Chapter 462. This time, Xianyuan Mo brought along all the high-ranking concubines in the palace to visit the victims of the disaster. Including imperial noble consort Tangguo, there were a total of 8 concubines. Even though everything was simple, he still did not intend to wrong these concubines, especially Tangguo and his white moonlight, and Ningxiang. Tangguo took care of them in the open, while Ningxiang took care of them in secret. With so many people, it was inconvenient for Xianyuan Mia to appear here, so he could only follow them in secret. Xianyuan Mo and Tangguo rode in the same carriage, while the other concubines rode in separate carriages. Actually, it had been a long time since Xianyuan Mo was alone with Tangguo in the same room. This carriage was not very spacious, and there were only the two of them. He actually felt a sense of nervousness. He looked at the person leaning against the soft cushion without showing his expression. Compared to the past few years, she was even more outstanding. All these years, he had subconsciously ignored everything about her. Although they met every day, he felt uncomfortable every time they met. He did not know if Imperial Brother was warning him, but he would always leave obvious marks on this person's exposed skin. Is Imperial Noble Consort's health well? Tangguo nodded and smiled. It's fine. The journey was a little bumpy. It's been hard on you. It's not hard. I haven't been out of the palace for many years, so I wanted to come out and take a look. Tangguo's beautiful eyes focused on Xianyuan Mo. I'm very happy to come out with Mo. She lifted the curtain and looked at the scenery outside that flashed past quickly. A faint smile appeared on her face. Mo, all these years, I've always had a feeling. What feeling? Xianyuan Mo unconsciously grabbed at his knees, wrinkling his clothes. Afraid that he would be discovered, he quickly smoothed it out. Tangguo did not turn back. She kept looking outside. Mo, I keep feeling that you are getting further and further away from me. Xianyuan Mo's heart trembled, and he quickly said, Imperial Noble Consort is overthinking. Mo, sometimes you don't even realize it yourself. Tangguo turned around and smiled at Xianyuan Mo. No matter what, Mo used to like me very much and treated me sincerely, right? Xianyuan Mo didn't dare to look directly at her smile. Those bright eyes were too clean, so clean that he didn't dare to face them. It was as if he was a filth that would dirty those eyes. He braced himself and replied, Of course. Other than you, who else have I treated well? I'm very happy to hear that. Tangguo looked at the scenery outside the car window. No matter what happens in the future, as long as Mo treats me well, I have no regrets in this life. Following that, she muttered softly, How can a person's heart remain unchanged? Her voice was too low, and because of the noise of the wheels, Xianyuan Mo did not hear what she said clearly. Imperial Gue Fei always likes to let her imagination run wild. The woman turned back with a smile. Mo, I'm very curious. In the past, when I was the Imperial Consort, you called me Imperial Consort. Now that I'm the Imperial Consort, you call me Imperial Consort. Xianyuan Mo's heart tightened. That's right, wasn't his form of address a little too distant? Mo, you're so lazy. You're just too lazy to call me by my name. Without waiting for Xianyuan Mo to explain, she found an excuse for him. Xianyuan Mo looked at her coquettish smile and didn't know how to explain, so he remained silent. After a long time, he said, "If you feel uncomfortable, remember to tell me." "I won't." The carriage quietened down. She kept looking at the scenery outside the window, and it actually gave Xianyuan Mo a feeling that she could float away at any time. He wanted to reach out to grab her, but he quickly thought of something and quickly retracted his hand. "Are you hungry?" Xianyuan Mo asked. "I'm not hungry." She looked back and smiled. This smile entered Xianyuan Mo's heart, and he couldn't help but panic, not knowing what to do. In addition to what had happened in the past few years, she already understood why the emperor treated the imperial noble consort that way. For a Ningxiang, the former beautyan, noble ladyan, concubinen, and now concubine Xian, the emperor was truly infatuated. For the person he loved, he actually pushed another woman who loved him deeply into the abyss. Concubine Mengda was not feeling well. She did not have much appetite to eat. The imperial noble consort was such a good person. He didn't understand. What could she do? A few years ago, the imperial noble consort had already taught her what it meant to be a heartless emperor. She had led her to a different realm. She didn't care who Xianyuan Mo favored at all. She just felt that it was a pity that such a transparent person like the imperial noble consort had such an encounter. Tang Guo received concubine Meng Defei's pitiful gaze and couldn't help laughing. However, the original owner was truly sad and pitiful. As a woman, she had been with someone who didn't love her for many years. Could she really not feel it? Perhaps she felt something was wrong and was just immersed in a beautiful dream. Chapter 464. When the emperor went on an inspection tour, there would always be some melodramatic plot of assassination of the dog emperor. Every day, Xianyuan Mo would bring the two imperial concubines out for inspection. Today, it was Tanggua and Ningxiang's turn. On the way, they were surrounded by a group of black-clothed men. When the emperor went on an inspection tour, there would naturally be experts protecting him, but sometimes, there would be gaps for the assassins to take advantage of. For example, when the assassins just appeared, Xianyuan Mo subconsciously wanted to take care of Tanggua's safety and ignored his own danger. An arrow attacked Xianyuan Mo's back. And Ningxiang, who happened to be standing at the side and was relatively close, but her face was still pale. Without hesitation, she threw herself on Xianyuan Mo's back and blocked the arrow for him. When Xianyuan Mo came back to his senses, Ningxiang was already half unconscious. He hurriedly hugged Ningxiang in his arms, his face anxious and complicated, as if saying, "Why is there such a foolish woman?" Looking at this scene, Tang Guo only raised her eyebrows. Facing the assassins who were still attacking, she did not hesitate to pull out her soft sword and jumped into the group of assassins to fight with them. Xianyuan Mo clearly did not expect that the usually delicate imperial concubine would actually use a sword to fight against the assassins. Tang Guo wasn't polite at all. Her graceful figure swept past the assassins' surroundings. Wherever she passed by, her sword would slit their throats. Only a corpse was left behind. Her dress wasn't stained with blood at all. Whether it was the experts of the imperial palace or the group of assassins who tried to assassinate the emperor, when faced with the beautiful woman holding a long sword, each sword could reap a life. Their scalps were numb. In a short while, more than half of the 20 black-clothed men died under Tanggua's sword. She walked back with the soft sword, her face slightly pale and her forehead covered with a thin layer of sweat. "Ah, Mo, are you okay?" She stood there with a smile, still holding the soft sword dripping with blood in her hand. Blood dripped down drop by drop, dyeing the soil red. Fortunately, the foundation from when I was young is still there. These years, my body is weak, but I did not fall behind. Otherwise, if Amo was in danger, I am afraid that I would not be able to protect you. I originally thought that martial arts were useless, but after today's matter, I still can't fall behind. Amo treats me very well. I finally have a way to repay Amo's kindness. Her steps were a bit light, and she could not even hold the sword. She saw Xianyuan Amo holding the unconscious and Ningxiang and said, "Consort Xian's condition is not good. Amo, take her back for treatment first. If we are late, something bad will happen." Xianyuan Amo was in a daze. Facing the woman in front of him, he was somewhat absent-minded, but he quickly reacted. And Ningxiang's current situation was very bad. Without thinking too much, he carried a Ningxiang in his arms. The group of people quickly rushed back and summoned the imperial physician to treat her. And Ningxiang's pregnant. And Ningxiang's S. And Ningxiang had already woken up. She looked anxiously at Xianyuan Mo and Tanghua. The imperial physician thought she was worried about the child, so he said, "The wound is not deep. Your Highness, please don't worry. The fetus is fine." He. Xianyuan Mo held her hand and said, "Take care. Zhen will explain everything to imperial concubine. The emperor is right. Consort Xian should take care of herself. You are the emperor's concubine. You are the emperor's concubine. The entire Hogong should be happy that you are pregnant. Don't say what you said before. For the emperor, you don't even care about your own life. If Ben Gong blamed you, I don't know what the world would think of Ben Gong." Chapter 465. Consort Xian is virtuous and selfless. You even disregarded your own body for His Majesty. This action shows that you have deep feelings for His Majesty. How can Ben Gong stop your sincerity? Ben Gong has not been pregnant for many years. It can be seen that we are not fated to have children. Consort Xian should take good care of the fetus. Xianyuan Mo couldn't say the words that he had prepared. Today's matter was truly unexpected. He didn't expect that someone would dare to assassinate him in public. And Ningxiang blocked the sword for him. He was even more moved. His decision to make Ningxiang his empress couldn't be changed. He thought that Tanghua would make a big fuss when she found out that Ningxiang was pregnant. He didn't expect her to say such tolerant words. In his impression, the imperial Gue Fei should be used to pampering and dominating. She shouldn't be able to see other consorts by his side. Thinking of how the imperial Gue Fei killed the assassins with a sword just now, his eyes couldn't move away from her. He suddenly found that the imperial Gue Fei was really mesmerizing. Her entire body was filled with an aura that made people fall head over heels for her. His Majesty must have many things to say to Consort Xian. "I won't disturb you." Tanghua turned to leave. Consort Mengda bowed and hurriedly followed out. Yin Fei thought for a bit. After a few words of condolence, she also left. Consort Mengda chased Tanghua to her room. When she entered, she saw Tanghua's pale face. She sighed and called out, "Is Imperial Gue Fei Jijia well?" "I'm fine." Tanghua used a snow-white handkerchief to wipe the blood-stained sword. "I haven't fought in a long time. My body is actually so weak." Consort Mengda had also heard the previous matter. It was said that most of the assassins had been killed by the Imperial Gue Fei. She thought, as expected, she didn't know enough about the Imperial Gue Fei. This kind of peerless beauty was actually just a consort in the inner palace. She stepped forward and held Tanghua's hand. She found that Tanghua's hands were cold. She was shocked. Do you want a Tai to come take a look? I only brought out 2 Tai. Who will come take a look? The Imperial Gue Fei's health is important. It's fine. She'll be fine after resting. Consort Mengda's lips were bitter. I've wronged you. No. Tangua asked Meilon to make some hot tea. After drinking it, she felt much more comfortable. She leaned against the cushion and said, "Get ready. We'll be returning to the palace soon." Mengda Fei didn't know what to say. In the end, she could only whisper the news she received to Tangua's ear. Papa sent news. This official is preparing to ask the emperor to confer the title of empress to Ancien Fei. Sister, do you have any ideas? Nothing. I've been waiting for this day. Consort Mengda was surprised. Did the imperial noble consort know all along? Then, he smiled bitterly. That's right, how could such a smart girl not notice it? Haven't they experienced the imperial noble consort's methods all these years? Big sister, if you feel bored in the future, feel free to look for us. Consort Mengda did not say anything more. There were many things that a small consort like her could not change. The only thing she could do was to tell Tanguo what she knew. There was nothing else she could do. General, we didn't expect that an Imperial Gue Fei would come out of nowhere and kill all the men of sacrifice we trained. General An's expression was not good. Then, he remembered the news he received. Forget it. Let's just pretend that it didn't happen. Fortunately, we achieved our goal. When Ningxiang is conferred, all the sacrifices will be worth it. The emperor would confer the title of Ningxiang. But from his daughter's words, he had to push for it to avoid any changes because of the imperial noble consort. Chapter 466. Consort Ancienne's conduct was good. Consort Ancienne was pregnant. Consort Ancienne didn't care about her own safety and blocked a sword for the emperor. When these things were connected, the court officials became more and more confident in asking for Ningxiang to be conferred the title of empress. But Xianyuan Mo didn't immediately agree. He said he needed 2 days to consider this matter. Xianyuan Mo came to Tangua's palace. Since that day, she didn't seem to have recovered. Her expression was filled with exhaustion. He didn't know why, but he couldn't bear to say what he was about to say. But every time he thought of how Ningxiang blocked a sword for him and risked her life for him a second time, his previous thoughts faded. The court officials asked for Consort Ancienne to be conferred the title of empress. Xianyuan Mo said, Zhen has no choice but to agree this time. Tanguo raised her eyes and smiled at Xianyuan Mo. Amo doesn't need to be troubled by me. I'm already satisfied that Amo has doted on me all these years. Consort Ancienne being loved by the court officials and the people is naturally a good thing. Hearing these general words, Xianyuan Mo actually felt a bit of anger. Imperial Gue Fei doesn't have any other thoughts. His voice unconsciously became a bit higher. After saying this, he felt that something wasn't right. His tone softened. Imperial Gue Fei, if you're sad, say it. If I say it, will the emperor change his mind and not confer the title of Consort Ancienne? She stared straight at Xianyuan Mo, making him flustered. Of course not. She lowered her head. So, whether I say it or not, what's the difference? I've never forgotten that Amo is an emperor. An emperor has his own helplessness. If I force you, I'll only be making things difficult for you. Xianyuan Mo didn't know what to say. Amo, as long as you treat me sincerely, it's fine. She looked at him with misty eyes. I also want to say something to you. Don't confer the title of Consort Ancienne, okay? But I don't have the confidence. I'm just an Imperial Gue Fei. I only have Amo behind me. If my father was here, I could make a big fuss with you. But now that my father isn't here, if I make a fuss, the court officials will only say that Imperial Gue Fei is jealous, pestering endlessly, extravagant and lascivious. Your conduct is not good, and you seduced the emperor. Xianyuan Mo opened his mouth, not knowing how to reply. He suddenly realized that in these years, the Imperial Gue Fei had actually changed. Ah, Mo, you came here today to tell me that if I object, you will not establish an empress. You will protect me no matter what happens. Even if I have to bear the infamy of being a demoness who brings calamity to the country, I will fight for myself. She grabbed Xianyuan Mo's hand. Ah, Mo, do you dare? Xianyuan Mo was in a difficult situation. Did he dare? This wasn't about whether he dared or not. His original goal was to make a Ningxiang his empress. Why, when he, St. He remained calm and patted the back of Tangua's hand. I'm very pleased that the Imperial Gue Fei can be so righteous. After saying that, he didn't dare to look at her. He wanted to know her reaction, so he met her gaze. To with. She lowered her eyes and chuckled. I understand. Xianyuan Mo left awkwardly. He felt that he did something wrong, but he couldn't find the right direction. When he returned to the secret room, he couldn't help but meet Xianyuan Mia. I want to confer Ningxiang as the empress. I told the Imperial Gue Fei today. Xianyuan Mia said coldly, in front of me, second brother can call her imperial sister-in-law. Xianyuan Mo was stunned. Imperial sister-in-law. Why did he feel so uncomfortable? He subconsciously ignored the fact that the Imperial Gue Fei was already his imperial sister-in-law secretly. She was the one who was cherished by his imperial brother. Chapter 467. On the second day of court, the courtiers once again requested for a Ningxiang to be the empress. Xianyuan Mo agreed without hesitation. He placed his hands firmly on the armrest. When he said the word approved, he did not feel as happy as he had imagined. Instead, his heart felt heavy and uncomfortable. Sitting at the top, he watched as the courtiers congratulated General and with joy on their faces. The joy on the faces of the family's father and son could not be concealed. He felt even more uncomfortable. He waved his hand and dismissed the court early. With today's goal achieved, the courtiers did not dare to say anything more to anger Xianyuan Mo. They tactfully did not mention the matter of impeaching the imperial noble consort. The imperial noble consort was only an imperial noble consort. Her status could not compare to the empress. The conferment of the empress was a major event. Xianyuan Mo ordered people to prepare the conferment ceremony and ordered the imperial astronomer to choose an auspicious day. After the court, the news of the empress being conferred slowly spread. Countless commoners also cheered. Concubine and Xian had a good character and was the mother of the heavenly Qin kingdom. Almost no one objected to it. The moment a Ningxiang received the imperial edict, no matter how indifferent she was, her heart was filled with ecstasy. She repeatedly rewarded the eunuch who read the edict. The harem was much quieter than the outside. They did not know the situation, so the low-ranking masters who had just entered the palace were all discussing in low voices. So what if the imperial noble consort was favored? She was still a mere imperial noble consort. She would never be able to become the mother of a country. Besides, the imperial noble consort only looked favored. There was nothing behind her and no one supported her. Even if she wanted to be the empress, no one would support her. After a Ningxiang received the edict, she was greeted by the concubines one after another. It was different from before. Now that she was the empress, she naturally could not avoid meeting them. For a time, all the concubines in the palace stood on a Ningxiang's side. As for consort Mengde, Consortine Shu, and the others, they chose not to leave the palace. After Xianyuan Imo issued the edict, they only sent people to congratulate Ningxiang and did not come personally. Many people guessed that Consort Mengde and the others were feeling unbalanced and were hiding to sulk. They were indeed hiding and sulking, but they were not angry for themselves. A few years ago, they had lost interest in the so-called love of the emperor. Now, he was locked up in the palace only because of one person's injustice. On the other hand, the imperial Gui Fei, who should have been unhappy and uncomfortable, actually brought people to admire flowers, drink tea, and recite poems every day. Her days were unusually comfortable, which made people feel depressed for a while. After Ningxiang heard the news, she also felt that it was very strange. The imperial noble consort should like Mo very much. Every time they saw the imperial noble consort looking at the emperor, her eyes were filled with deep love. At this time, the other party should not be too happy. Ningxiang stroked her belly. She didn't plan to show off in front of the imperial noble consort. She was already the empress and pregnant. Mo had always treated her sincerely. In the future, the crown prince of the heavenly Qin state would also be her son. There was really no point in arguing with an imperial Gui Fei who had no children but only a title. If the imperial noble consort didn't provoke her in the future, she wouldn't do anything to her either. Who knew what Mo was thinking? She always felt that he treated the imperial Gui Fei differently. Ningxiang did not take the initiative to look for him, so it was inevitable that they would bump into each other in the imperial garden. Tanggua saw her. As the empress, she naturally could not avoid her. She was supported by others as she walked over. Imperial noble consort. Now that she saw Tanggua, she didn't need to address her respectfully. In fact, she felt a little comfortable in her heart. Just as she was waiting for the imperial noble consort to bow to her, Tanggua didn't stand up. She only nodded at her, "Congratulations, Empress." Ningxiang felt uncomfortable in her heart. Thinking that she hadn't been conferred yet, she didn't care. However, her personal palace maid, Chun Shui, berated, "Shouldn't the imperial noble consort stand up and bow when she sees the empress?" Chapter 468. When Chun Shui opened her mouth, Ningxiang felt that something was wrong. But once the words came out of her mouth, she couldn't back down. If she scolded her head maid, it would make her seem weak. If word got out that she, the empress, was afraid of an imperial noble concubine, she would become the laughingstock of the entire palace and even the entire Tianqin kingdom. Therefore, she had to wait for the imperial noble concubine to bow to her today. Tanggua couldn't help but laugh in her heart and ridicule the system. That Chun Shui is a pig teammate, right? She's just a mere palace maid, yet she dares to scold me to my face. If I don't bow to the empress, I'll be called arrogant at most. And she's just a little palace maid. She scolded me and offended me. I can already reward her with 10 feet of red. Dear host, isn't it written in the plot that Chun Shui is a pig teammate who sets obstacles for the female lead and causes trouble? Tanggua came to a realization. I forgot that Ningxiang's main plot has just begun. Ningxiang had been waiting for Tanggua's reaction. She didn't expect the other party to be in a daze, holding a handkerchief with both hands. The imperial noble concubine was too arrogant. Chun Shui couldn't keep her cool. Calling you imperial noble concubine is out of respect for you. In the past, the empress was concubine in Xian, so she should bow to you. Now that the master is the empress, I ask imperial noble concubine to abide by the rules. Tanggua was puzzled. Chun Shui had been by Ningxiang's side for so many years and immersed in the palace. Didn't she learn anything? Did she really think that Ningxiang's position was stable after she became the empress? Ningxiang was the empress and the only person the emperor doted on. Her opponents were the concubines of the entire harem. She had been careful and careful all her life. On the surface, she had to deal with the matters of the harem fairly, but in secret, she had to guard against countless schemes. And Ningxiang was really tired of being the empress. "What's your name?" Tang Guo stared at Chuanxue with a smile. Chuanxue wanted to hold her head high, but when she met those clear eyes, she couldn't help but take half a step back and said weakly, "This servant's name is Chuanxue. You also know that I'm just an imperial noble concubine, and your master is the empress. Then, you know that you're just a little palace maid, and I'm the imperial noble concubine." His words made Chuanxue's face pale. Even Ningxiang was a little nervous. "Meilon, this consort really doesn't like people pointing and berating in front of me. Slap them." Imperial noble consort. And Ningxiang was a little anxious. Chuanxue is this consort's person. Shouldn't the imperial noble consort ask this consort before dealing with her? Tang Guo sneered, "The empress is not strict enough. Today, I was reasonable and knew that Chuanxue's behavior did not represent the empress, nor was it your order. That's why I didn't create a rift with the empress. I heard that Chuanxue has been with the empress since she was a child. The people around her are all pleasing to the eye. No matter how you look at them, you won't find anything wrong with them. Naturally, you will overlook her shortcomings. This is the imperial palace. If something like this happens to Chuanxue again, she might lose her life the next time. See, this consort only wanted to slap her. It's not like this consort wants her head. How benevolent is this? Meilon, do it. Teach this girl a lesson so that she won't think that she can strut around just because she has the empress as her backer. She doesn't care about the empress's face and causes trouble for the empress everywhere. In the end, the empress is the one who gets implicated. In the end, if word gets out, people outside will say that the empress is not strict enough, is incompetent, and doesn't deserve to be the empress. This consort doesn't want to see such a thing happen. The empress is pregnant and shouldn't see such a scene. Leave the matter of punishing the palace maids to me. Mei Qing, escort the empress back to the palace. Be careful." Before Ningxiang could react, she was helped away by a nimble palace maid. It wasn't until they walked far away that Chuanxue's screams came from behind, which made her scalp tingle. Chapter 469. Meilon didn't hold back. She hated Xianyuan Imo and Ningxiang, so she didn't dare to do anything to them. She didn't hold back for a little Chuanxue in front of her. She slapped her a few times. She had also practiced martial arts since she was a child, so her slap was especially heavy. Chuanxue's cheeks swelled immediately. She was overjoyed. Everyone in the palace thought that her Nyang was favored, but who knew how much grievance her Nyang had suffered? Hypocritical people were hypocritical. Heartless people were fickle. Slap. Slap. Meilan's expression was cold as she slapped Chuanxue's face. A little palace maid dared to humiliate her consort. Who did she think she was? If she hadn't restrained herself, she would have killed Chuanxue on the spot. So what if she was conferred the title of empress? Did her consort care for it? Of course not. Meilon also knew a secret over the years. The general didn't die, but went to do something big. When she heard the news, she really cried with joy. God finally had eyes. Later, she found out that Xianyuan Imo wanted to frame the general for treason. It was really ridiculous. The general had been loyal to the country since he was a teenager. If it weren't for her consort's reminder, Xianyuan Imo might have succeeded. Her consort would have been wronged and banished to the cold palace. Xianyuan Imo was fickle, and Xianyuan Mia doted on her consort wholeheartedly. The general was still alive and would be a great support for her consort in the future. She asked her consort why she didn't leave. She thought she couldn't let go of Xianyuan Mo. Later, she understood that she couldn't let go of her hatred for Xianyuan Mo and stayed here only for revenge. If he left quietly, wouldn't that be letting Xianyuan Mo and Ningxiang take advantage of him? Enough. Seeing that Chuanxue was about to faint, Tanggua stopped Mei Lan, who still wanted to beat her. Don't kill her. Treat her injuries. Don't send her back to the Empress for the time being, so that she won't be scared. Yes. Mei Lan stopped, glanced at Chuanxue, whose face couldn't be seen, and waved her hand. Take her to the side hall and send her back to the Empress when her face is healed. Anyone who dared to bully her imperial noble consort should be prepared to be slapped in the face. The current Mei Lan was extremely confident. Soon, the news that the imperial noble consort had hit the Empress's personal palace made spread throughout the inner palace. When Xianyuan Mo heard the news, he immediately rushed to Ningxiang's palace to comfort her. Now that Ningxiang was pregnant, why didn't this imperial Gui Fei look at the right time to throw a tantrum? Ningxiang, I've wronged you. Xianyuan Mo held Ningxiang's hand and pulled her into his embrace. Zhen will find the imperial noble consort to settle the score later. I don't think so. Chapter 470. Imperial noble consort, Zhen came to ask you for a person. Chen Shui has been with the Empress since she was young. Let her go. Xianyuan Mo told Ningxiang that he came to settle accounts with the imperial noble consort. In fact, on the way here, he received a letter from his older brother. The content of the letter was, "Do you dare to touch my woman?" Looking at that sentence, Xianyuan Mo felt like a basin of cold water had been poured over his head. Yes, his imperial brother had warned him more than once that the imperial noble consort was actually his imperial sister-in-law. Originally, it was impossible to settle accounts, so he could only change it to asking for a person. But those words had been lingering in his mind for a long time. He was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, but what could he do? The reality was that the imperial noble consort only had a nominal relationship with him. This relationship was made by him. He was afraid to tell her the truth. It was a kind of fear from the bottom of his heart that he subconsciously ignored. Emperor, you came to ask for someone. Tanggua smiled and lowered her head. I thought you came to make trouble for me. Xianyuan Mo ignored the fact that the imperial Gui Fei no longer called him Mo. Instead, she called him Your Majesty. Now that he remembered how delicate and pitiful Ningxiang was and how she was pregnant with his only child, he had no choice but to satisfy her small request. The imperial noble consort's anger has been vented. Kanjin, take her away. The whole world belongs to the emperor. If you want something, just take it away. Why do you need to ask me? Xianyuan Mo only thought that she was angry, so he didn't care about it. Instead, he was angry that she was conferred the title of Empress. He faintly felt some joy in his heart. The imperial noble consort cared about him, so she was angry because she was conferred the title of Empress, right? Xianyuan Mo looked at Tanggua, who was different from before. All eyes were on him, and his heart was slightly blocked. Then he thought that she might be angry because she cared about him too much, so he became happy again. Zhen will take her away. If the imperial noble consort likes something, Zhen will have someone send it over later. Tanggua raised her head at this time, the corners of her mouth curved. I like gold and silver. If the emperor really feels guilty, why don't you give me some more money? The last time the Empress proposed to reduce my expenses, I went from changing my clothes 3 times a day to only changing once a day. Many of my belongings were also sold. Tanggua lazily propped up her chin. I'm used to living a luxurious life. I'm really not used to living in poverty. Xianyuan Mo sized up the decorations in the palace. There were indeed fewer of them. All the concubines and concubines in the imperial harem had indeed suffered greatly because of that sentence. Chapter 471. Not long after, Xianyuan Mo delivered a box of gold to Tanggua. When she opened the box, the glittering gold made her beam. She took out a few pieces of gold and threw them to Mei Qing and Mei Lan. Go and get something good for yourself. The two of them did not stand on ceremony and happily kept the gold. They understood that the box of gold would be sent away very soon. Mei Lan and Mei Qing both shuddered. Her Highness was really amazing. She used Xianyuan Mo's money to build her own empire. Tanggua took out a map and looked at it silently. Seeing this, the two of them quickly went out to guard the door. Xianyuan Mia sneaked in and sat quietly beside her. He put his chin on her shoulder and looked very intimate. He glanced at the map. This is. My father built this empire. Xianyuan Mia could not help but laugh. I heard that my stupid brother gave you a box of gold. Yes. The box was placed beside her. Tanggua kicked open the lid and the glittering gold appeared in front of her eyes. Do you want to pick two to play with? I don't want to play with gold. I'm only interested in Gua. Xianyuan Mo wrapped his arms around her waist. Do you want me to help Gua send it out? Who else could it be if not you? Xianyuan Mia was happy. He quickly kissed her on the cheek and looked at the map again. The map was very big. When he saw the various markings on it, his expression became strange. Gua are you and father-in-law really just occupying a small area? Yes, isn't it just a small area? Do you know that the ground should be round? The area on this map is just a small part. Isn't it just a small area? Xianyuan Mia was indifferent, but the corners of his mouth were twitching. He tightened his arms around her waist. Gua let father-in-law expand the territory slowly. If he continues to expand, I won't be worthy of you. It's fine as long as I like you. Since that's the case, I'm relieved. It's fine as long as Gua doesn't dislike me. Xianyuan Mia smiled and kissed her cheek. I was waiting for Gua to say that. Tanggua chuckled. Why would I dislike you? In this world, there's probably no one cuter than you. She couldn't find anyone who was more tactful, intelligent, and didn't give her trouble at all. Xianyuan Mia didn't care about external items. He just wasn't interested. This person was smart and powerful, many times more powerful than Xianyuan Mo. If he had the heart, the heavenly Qin kingdom would have long been in his pocket. How could a mere Xianyuan Mo be his match? As expected of someone who could arouse her interest every time. She pointed at the desolate areas on the map. Father, in order to protect me from being bullied, in order to protect himself from being bullied by Xianyuan Mo, he would still feel sad in his heart. Father has become a savior of the world. He has a goal and countless people he wants to protect. When he does these things, he will feel more comfortable. He was originally a famous general with outstanding military achievements. Xianyuan Mo wanted to frame him for treason. He didn't say anything, but his heart was cold. If he is loved by countless people one day, these things won't matter. He has always been a person full of justice and love. He wants to protect me, so I want him to protect me righteously. I want him to have a group of people behind him to support him and protect me. Xianyuan Mia stared at the woman in high spirits in front of him. He buried his head in her neck and took a deep breath. Countless people will thank Gua for her decision. Chapter 472. Ningxiang felt uncomfortable. She thought that Xianyuan Mo would reprimand and punish the imperial noble consort. She didn't expect that he would only bring Chuanxua back. He told her, Imperial noble consort, you don't have to bow to anyone. He also told her to warn the palace servants not to provoke the imperial noble consort. And Ningxiang didn't care about the imperial noble consort's high status. What she cared about was Xianyuanmo's strange attitude towards the imperial noble consort. If he really used her as a shield, now that she was the empress, there should be no need for the imperial noble consort's existence. Her father was a general, and her brother's position in the imperial court was not bad. She didn't need any shield at all. She was still the empress. In the future, would she still have to act according to the imperial noble consort's mood? Sullen in her heart. Soon, it would be the coronation ceremony. No matter how uncomfortable Ningxiang felt, she didn't dare to make any mistakes. For now, it was better to avoid the imperial noble consort. The harem was watching. The empress and the imperial noble consort were facing each other for the first time. Who would win? No one expected that the winner would be the imperial noble consort. Even consort Mengde and consort Yin Shu were very surprised. They didn't close their doors and went to Tangua's palace to find out. When they arrived, they found that the imperial noble consort was in a good mood making flower tea. The two looked at each other with some joy. They were lucky today. The imperial noble consort's various skills were unparalleled. Many people couldn't compare to her tea-making skills. The more outstanding the imperial noble consort was, the more they thought that their emperor was blind. And Ningxiang wasn't bad, but she couldn't compare to the imperial noble consort. They still didn't know that the person who came to the palace at night was not Xianyuan Mo. If they knew the truth, they would be very surprised. Sister imperial noble consort, you're in a good mood today. Consort Mengde looked at the teapot eagerly. Tangua saw this and poured a cup for both of them. The two didn't speak and drank tea first. After drinking it, one would feel refreshed. It was very comfortable. How could they not be refreshed? This tea was not ordinary. They asked for it from Ziyun. By the way, great host, do you find these people particularly pleasing to the eye? You actually entertain them with spiritual tea. They're quite pleasing to the eye. Since they've cooperated with this consort's plot, I should at least give them some compensation. Now, they're still thinking of this consort wholeheartedly. Every day, they feel pity for this consort. I should treat them better. I have a feeling that things aren't as simple as they seem. Dear host, you often do bad things in the name of doing things for your own good. The system couldn't help but mutter. The host's character would never change. She might be good to them, but she definitely had a motive. After following the host for so many years, he deeply understood that there was no such thing as being good to someone for no reason. No matter who was good to someone, there was at least some purpose behind it. Nothing was done for no reason. Well, I do have a purpose. Tangua smiled and said, I want these concubines who are pleasing to the eye to stay young and beautiful for a longer time. I want them to play happily in the palace for the rest of their lives and live a comfortable life. They will live better than anyone else. The words were good, but the system felt a chill run down its spine. Then what? And then? Tangua smiled. Then, Ningxiang watched as a group of sisters older than her remained young and beautiful their entire lives. They clearly didn't have Xianyuanmo's love, so why were they able to live so comfortably and happily? Tongzi, do you think my repayment is good? Good, super good, it's simply wonderful. The system silently lit a candle for Ningxiang. The host clearly didn't do anything to Ningxiang, but she made Ningxiang suffer so much that she wished she was dead. What a vengeful and narrow-minded host. Chapter 473. My two younger sisters, if you have nothing to do, you can come to my place more often. Tangua said with a faint smile, recently, I have learned some new methods of making tea and found some good recipes for facial masks. If you are interested, you can come and try. Consort Mingde and Consort In Shufei nodded repeatedly. They couldn't ask for more. The imperial noble consort's facial masks were very useful. Previously, after they had insomnia, their skin was particularly rough the next day. Later, they asked the imperial noble consort for advice and taught them how to make facial masks. After applying them for 3 days, their skin was really white and tender, better than before. Not only did the imperial noble consort know how to make facial masks, but she also knew how to make lipstick and powder, which were better than the ones bought outside and offered as tribute. Also, the imperial noble consort would share some beauty recipes with them, which were not too greasy or too light. After using them every day, their complexion improved a lot. The imperial noble consort was really a treasure. The two silently praised her in their hearts and had decided to hold on to her for the rest of their lives. They weren't fools. Last time, when the imperial noble consort and the empress confronted each other, Xianyuan Mo didn't dare to do anything to the imperial noble consort. It was obvious that there were many secrets. And the imperial noble consort had been in the palace all this time. Why would she have these unexpected things? It was worth thinking about. After thinking about it, the imperial noble consort must have some extraordinary tricks up her sleeves. She was not the imperial noble consort without a backer, as people said in front of them. In the first batch of old imperial concubines, besides a Ningxiang who was the empress, only Lan Zhaoyi stood on a Ningxiang's side. The rest of them ran to Tangua's place all day long. The strange thing was that these imperial concubines often ridiculed each other and played tricks on each other, but they liked to go to the imperial noble consort's palace to make trouble. Just like before, many imperial concubines came out with red eyes every time. They even stomped at the door and left angrily. The imperial noble consort's temper is too bad. This was the palace servant's discussion carefully. She can't stand it. She calls these imperial concubines over all day long. No wonder. The imperial noble consort has always been favored. Now that she is not the empress and the coronation ceremony is about to be held, it's normal for her to feel uncomfortable. It's a pity that the other imperial concubines have to suffer her anger. The two palace maids discussed for a while. When they heard a commotion in the distance, they were afraid of being heard, so they quickly ran away. Imperial Gue Fei has a bad temper. He Xiaoyuan walked out of the shadows and looked speechlessly at Su Xiaorong. Are they sure? Actually, the imperial noble consort has a bad temper sometimes. Su Xiaorong agreed. For example, when someone provokes her, she doesn't care about their feelings. She will deal with them first. He Xiaoyuan couldn't help but laugh when she thought of the empress's maid, Chuanxue, being taught a lesson. That's true. After that incident, Xianyuan Mo also personally said that the imperial noble consort did not need to salute anyone she met, which was really strange. But imperial noble consort really didn't torment us. He Xiaoyuan curled her lips. What did these people know? Who was it that spread the news that the imperial Gue Fei mistreated us? Imperial Gue Fei still occasionally torments us. Su Xiaorong played with the newly applied danko. For example, when we play cards, Imperial Gue Fei will make the other side lose their dudu. He Xiaoyuan gritted her teeth. Su Xiaorong, be careful of your mouth. Who lost the dudu? Yo, some people have already lost the dudu 3 times and still want to pretend that other people don't know. Su Xiaorong mocked her impolitely. Seeing that He Xiaoyuan's eyes were red and about to explode in anger, she hurriedly grabbed the maid's hand and shouted anxiously, "Hurry and help Ben Gong leave. Later, a lunatic will bite Ben Gong." Su Xiaorong, stop for Ben Gong, stop. Su Xiaorong, you bitch. He Xiaoyuan shouted loudly. She looked angry and stomped her feet in place. It looked like she was at a disadvantage when talking to Su Zhaorong. The palace maids and eunuchs in the distance all lowered their heads. See, the harem wasn't peaceful. Every day, there were concubines who had a good relationship with each other. Chapter 474. Finally, it was time for the coronation ceremony. Ningxiang wore the Empress's court uniform and finally felt relieved. From today onwards, she was the mother of the heavenly Qin kingdom, the most honorable woman. After going through all the complicated formalities, Xianyuan Mo held her hand and stood side by side in front of the officials to accept the worship of the officials. When she was worshipped by countless people, her mood was also surging. No one could resist this feeling. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Her entire body was already tense, afraid that something would go wrong. The other concubines, even the imperial noble concubine, could not appear in front of the officials to accept the worship. Her mood improved a lot. From today onwards, she would be in charge of the harem. Xianyuan Mo's mood was different from Ningxiang's. He had clearly held Ningxiang's hand and achieved his goal. Why was his heart empty and not as happy as he had imagined? Wasn't this his goal? What he had always yearned for? Why did he only feel bitter in his heart and think of another face? Xianyuan Mo had lied to himself countless times, but he couldn't lie to himself during the coronation ceremony. He had feelings for the imperial noble concubine. He actually had feelings for her. Why was it so laughable? Why was it so laughable? Thinking that it would never be possible between him and the imperial noble concubine, he used some strength in his hand. Ningxiang frowned slightly and withdrew her hand. Only then did Xianyuan Mo react. He said in a low voice, "I'm a little nervous." Ningxiang's heart sank. Really? Why did she feel that it wasn't like that? What was Mo thinking just now? She felt very uneasy. Mo, are you thinking about the imperial noble concubine? The joy of being conferred the title of empress was washed away by a lot. Ningxiang's smile also faded a lot. On the second day of the empress's coronation, she would receive the greetings of the concubines in the harem. After the ceremony ended, Xianyuan Mo sent Ningxiang back to the palace. Tonight, he would openly stay in the empress's palace. He had feelings for the imperial noble concubine, so he felt a little guilty towards Ningxiang. Mo, can you always stay in my palace from now on? Ningxiang probed. I really want to get along with Mo openly. Xianyuan Mo's heart softened, and he agreed. He also forgot that he had thought of the imperial noble consort and had fallen in love with her. Zhen will of course accompany Ningxiang in the future. Mo, this is great, and Ningxiang caressed her belly. Mo, do you think I'll give birth to a little prince or a little princess? No matter if it's a little prince or a little princess, I like them all. Ningxiang was satisfied. Then let's have a little prince. Mo needs a prince. Xianyuan Mo felt even more apologetic towards Ningxiang, and he said, my children will all have Ningxiang's next life. Is that all right? Ningxiang let out a sigh of relief. Really? Mo, I thought you had feelings for the imperial noble consort. She lowered her head. If the imperial noble consort doesn't have anyone else, I won't object, but... Ningxiang, don't think too much. It's impossible for Zhen and the imperial Gui Fei to be together. Moreover, it's impossible for her to have children. Xianyuan Mo's head heated up and he spoke too much. After he finished speaking, he stared blankly. He remembered that the imperial Gui consort still had the habit of using calming incense during her afternoon nap, right? Thinking of this, his heart tightened. Ningxiang was completely relieved, and she fell asleep in Xianyuan Mo's arms. The next day, Xianyuan Mo came to the secret room to discuss something with Xianyuan Mia. You mean, you won't go to Gua's palace in the future? Yes. Xianyuan Mo hesitated for a moment. After all, the person I like is Ningxiang. He thought for a long time. It would never be possible between him and the imperial noble consort. Chapter 475. That won't do. Xianyuan Mia shook his head. You don't have to go during the day, but you have to go at night. What I mean is, I'll go at night. You. Xianyuan Mo felt uncomfortable, but then he remembered Xianyuan Mia's fondness for Tanggua, so he could only compromise. All right, from now on, the nights will be divided into two halves. One half will go to Ningxiang's side, and the other half will go to Imperial Gue Fei's side. Xianyuan Mia smiled in satisfaction. All right, you don't have to go to Imperial Gue Fei's side during the day. You can just go see your empress. And Ningxiang knew the reason, and Tanggua also knew the reason. But Xianyuan Mo and Ningxiang didn't know that Tanggua actually knew the truth. Xianyuan Mia narrowed his eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that it wasn't the right time, he wouldn't have patiently played hide and seek with them. Xianyuan Mo told Ningxiang about this at night. Even though Ningxiang knew that Xianyuan Mo would be in her palace every day, she still felt uncomfortable. Then she heard that Xianyuan Mo wouldn't go to Tanggua's side during the day. In reality, Xianyuan Mo never went to Imperial Gue Fei's palace at night or during the day. She felt comfortable again. Just like this, Xianyuan Mo continued to reward Imperial Gue Fei in name, and Imperial Gue Fei also took up half of his time at night. But many people still understood that Imperial Gue Fei's glory wasn't as good as before. Instead, it was the Empress, who was pregnant, who won the Emperor's favor. Later, everyone found that the Emperor really doted on the Empress. He always called the Empress Ningxiang, Ningxiang, and they strolled in the Imperial Garden together. Every day, he would visit her during the day and eat together. The Empress would also often send food to the Imperial study, and the Emperor even allowed her to stay inside. Everyone knew who the Emperor doted on. One day, Tanggua came to the Imperial Garden and coincidentally met Xianyuan Mo supporting the pot-bellied Ningxiang as they strolled around the garden. What a coincidence, Emperor, Empress. Tanggua stood beside the flowers. Even if there were hundreds of flowers competing, they couldn't compare to her beauty. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and she swept past the two with a smile, finally landing on those delicate flowers. The scenery here is really good, no wonder the Emperor and Empress like it. And Ningxiang didn't expect to encounter such a scene, and quickly grabbed Xianyuan Mo's hand. Xianyuan Mo thought that she was not feeling well, so he quickly supported her and asked carefully, "What's wrong? Do you want to go back and rest?" "No, I just met the Imperial Noble Consort. I'm afraid it's not good to leave now. Your Highness the Empress is not feeling well. You should go back and rest." And Ningxiang pursed her lips and felt uncomfortable. The Imperial Noble Consort didn't seem to care about her at all. At this moment, Eunuch Li came to report that there was an urgent matter that Xianyuan Mo had to deal with. He originally wanted to send Ningxiang back, but Ningxiang was unwilling. She even said, "Nothing will happen. I believe in the Imperial Noble Consort." "Imperial Noble Consort, the Empress is pregnant. You should speak more politely and manage your subordinates well." Xianyuan Mo recalled what happened last time and couldn't help but warn. After he finished speaking, he saw that the woman wasn't angry. She merely stared at him with a smile. He fled in panic. Why did that smile seem to see through everything? He didn't dare to face it and could only leave quickly with Eunuch Li. His steps were very messy. The two sat together in the pavilion. Tang Guo leisurely drank hot tea while admiring the flowers and watching the fish swimming in the lake. She looked very satisfied. I didn't expect the imperial noble consort to be in such a leisurely mood. She originally thought that the imperial noble consort would make a big fuss about Xian Yuanmo's change. She didn't expect the other party to be able to keep her cool. Chapter 476. Ben Gong has always been someone who knows how to enjoy. Tang Guo didn't raise her head as she focused on the fish fighting for food in the water below, but Empress's complexion isn't too good. It must be very difficult to conceive, right? No, being able to conceive a child for Amo isn't difficult at all. Ben Gong is very happy. Oh, so it's like that. Tang Guo didn't care. She glanced at the Empress's big belly and praised, Empress is true to Emperor. Naturally, which concubine in the palace isn't true to Amo? Naturally, I am too. Tang Guo smiled. That might not be the case. Imperial Gue Fei has been staring at Ben Gong's belly. Could it be that you also want a little prince? And Ning Xiang suddenly asked. Tang Guo smiled softly, Ben Gong has no fate with a child. Ben Gong can't compare to Empress's good fortune. Why? And Ning Xiang had been puzzled before. Amo said that the Imperial Gue Fei couldn't have a child. She thought that someone had acted against the Imperial Gue Fei. Now that the Imperial Gue Fei said it, could it be her own problem? Tang Guo said indifferently, my body doesn't allow it. When I was young, I fell into the water and froze, so Ben Gong doesn't have that good fortune. Originally, I was feeling sorry for Emperor. He used to favor Ben Gong. What would he do if he didn't have a child in the future? Now that Empress has caught Emperor's eye and is pregnant, it's also a good thing. She threw some fish food into the water and smiled faintly, otherwise, Ben Gong will have to bear the crime of bringing disaster to the country and the people. And Ning Xiang was surprised. Could it be that the Imperial Gue Fei didn't make a scene with Amo because of this reason? Thinking about it, it was possible. A woman who couldn't conceive and was favored by the emperor alone wouldn't last long. To survive in this harem, the stomach had to work hard. Tang Guo saw through what Ning Xiang was thinking at a glance. She just wantonly teased the fish and watched them fight for food. It was really interesting. Many people heard that the Empress and the Imperial Gue Fei were sitting in the pavilion together. They thought that something would happen. Until the two left, nothing happened. It was very inconceivable. They didn't think about it. Tang Guo didn't have the mind to harm Ning Xiang's baby. And Ning Xiang having a baby had nothing to do with her. And Ning Xiang was pregnant, and it was impossible for her to hurt herself to deal with Tang Guo. She was the Empress and her position was stable. Only a fool would do that. Tang Guo returned to the palace and began to embroider the sachet again. Your Highness, is this for young master again? No, this is for His Majesty. Meilong was shocked. She carefully tried to figure out what the Empress was thinking. She did not think that the Empress was trying to fight for favor. This is a gift that will only be delivered to Xianyuan Mo after a long time. She carefully rubbed an ink character on the inside of the sachet. After smoothing it out, she placed the sachet in an inconspicuous place and left it there. From today onwards, Meilong will invite Xianyuan Mo over for lunch every afternoon. Meilong nodded, yes, Your Highness. Mei Qing is responsible for spreading the news to the people in the Empress Palace every day, saying that I want to invite Xianyuan Mo over for a meal. You don't have to say anything else. An empress who loved Xianyuan Mo would definitely find an excuse to snatch Xianyuan Mo away. This was exactly what she wanted. Sure enough, from the second day onwards, Xianyuan Mo would receive the news every day that the Imperial Gue Fei invited him to lunch. Just as he was about to go, he received the Empress invitation. This made him remember that his imperial brother said that he didn't need to go to the Imperial Guifei's palace during the day, so he simply went to the Empress palace. It was like this every day. Later, he simply told Eunuch Li that he didn't need to report the news from the Imperial Guifei. In fact, he also wanted to secretly forget that feeling.